Chapter 711. At the center of the hall, Yang Dingtian and Wu Yuming stood opposite each other with a distance of several tens of meters between them. The outcome seemed to have already been decided. Many people had already voted with their feet. There were merely several tens of people standing on Yang Dingtian's side, and all of them were dressed in white. There were several hundreds of people standing on Wu Yuming's side, and all of them were dressed in black. However, regardless of whether they were dressed in white or black, all of them firmly believed that Yang Dingtian would definitely lose this battle. It was just that the people dressed in black firmly believed that Yang Dingtian would definitely die. As for the people dressed in white, they firmly believed that Yang Dingtian would be able to survive. Ling Wu wasn't willing for Yang Dingtian to die just like this. Therefore, she had once taken the initiative to look for Yang Dingtian to have a talk with him. She wanted Yang Dingtian to submit to Wu Yuming and unite with her to fight against the evil ways. However, she also knew in her heart that the overall situation was more important than her personal feelings. She sat at the most prominent position at the front, directly beside Vulture. She looked at the mere several tens of people opposite her, and then looked at the several hundreds of people behind her. Of course, there were still several tens of neutral people in between the black and white seats. Yang Dingtian, you should be able to see clearly that there are only several tens of people supporting you. As for those who support Sect Master Wu Yuming, there are several hundreds of people. You can also know what it means to have a just cause enjoys abundant support, and what it means to have an unjust cause enjoys little support. Ling Wu thought to herself, if a person wants to be saved, then he must save himself. Perhaps, this is already the final moment for you to submit, and also the final moment for you to survive. After that, Ling Wu looked at Wu Yuming with anticipation. She hoped that Wu Yuming would be able to give Yang Dingtian a chance at the final moment. However, Wu Yuming didn't do that. She just stood there quietly. The two of them faced each other quietly without moving at all. The people from the Council of Light behind Yang Dingtian had solemn expressions on their faces. Their emotions were suppressed, and they were practically unable to breathe. They were only worried about one thing. Would Yang Dingtian be able to survive? They no longer held any hope of winning or losing. As long as Yang Dingtian could survive, there was still hope. As for the people standing behind Wu Yuming, although their expressions were complicated, they seemed somewhat relaxed. It was just that Yu didn't dare to joke around. However, there was no pressure in his heart at all. Because Wu Yuming had already won and Yang Dingtian was dead meat. The outcome had already been decided. All that was waiting was for him to happen. Even Tai Muley and Mu Tsun didn't care about the duel at all. Instead, they were lazily taking a nap. Even Elder Mu Tsun kept glancing at Qiu Wanjie, who was in the Council of Light. Sometimes he would nod his head in greeting, and sometimes he would greet him with a smile. This caused Qiu Wanjie to feel extremely awkward. He didn't know how to respond. He wanted to frown coldly, but he was afraid that he would cut off his escape route. He wanted to greet them with a smile, but he was suppressed by the solemn atmosphere. Outside the main hall, the 100,000 soldiers loyal to Yang Dingtian stood quietly in the north. The army of 100,000 loyal to Wu Yuming stood quietly in the south, clad in black armor. The battle between the two sides was about to break out. Looking at the entire Zhongjing, the hundreds of thousands of Council of Light Silver Legion in the north and Wu Yuming's Black Legion in the south were facing each other coldly. Looking at the entire Zhongzhou, the hundreds of thousands of Council of Light's legions were leaving their respective territories and retreating to the northern Zhongzhou. As for the Zhongzhou forces that had just switched sides, there were millions of soldiers heading north and occupying the territories that the Council of Light had retreated to. In the southern Zhongzhou, the hundreds of thousands of Black Vulture's legions once again covered the sky and the sun. As long as they were given the order, they would rush into Zhongzhou and Zhongjing at full speed. In the East Continent, a storm was brewing and it was secretly being torn apart. In the Yin-Yang sect, many people were put under house arrest, but they were imprisoned. As long as Yang Dingtian was defeated, all the captives would be executed or their martial arts would be crippled. This included Lung Ao. Although he only viewed Yang Dingtian as an enemy, he might not have any dealings with the evil ways. However, at this time, Dongfang Minmi had already decided that he would rather kill the wrong person than let him go. Although he and Leng Qingchen were as close as brothers, his body still came from Leng Qingchen. However, he believed that if Leng Qingchen was still alive, he would kill Leng Ao personally instead of crippling his martial arts if he saw that he did not care about the big picture. In the Vulture Palace, Wolingzi, who rarely wore a brocade robe, stood on the mountain peak and looked in the direction of Zhongjing. He was also waiting for the news of Yang Dingtian's death. It had been many years since he wanted someone to die so badly. In the Dongli grassland, only Hai Exen and Dongli were in the main hall of the Snakemen Empire. "Prime Minister, do you think I want Yang Dingtian to live or Yang Dingtian to die?" Hai Exen asked faintly. "You want Yang Dingtian to live," Dongli said, "because he is the only one who can make the snake men go into estrus." Dongli said cunningly. He did not mean that only Yang Dingtian could make the snake men go into estrus. Instead, he meant that only Yang Dingtian had the ability to make the snake men go into estrus. "Yes, I want Yang Dingtian to live," Hai Exen continued. "So do you think I want him to win or lose?" Dongli said, "You want him to lose because a powerful Yang Dingtian who can control the world is not in your interest?" "These two questions are not difficult." Hai Exen smiled. "Then, if there are only two results, one is that Yang Dingtian dies and the other is that Yang Dingtian wins, which one do you think I will choose?" Dongli was stunned. This was a difficult choice. Hai Exen did not want Yang Dingtian to die because Yang Dingtian could make the snake men go into estrus. However, Hai Exen did not want Yang Dingtian to win because it was not in the interest of the Snakemen Empire. "Your subject does not know," Dongli said. "I do not want Yang Dingtian to win," Queen Hai Exen said. Dongli trembled and his heart was filled with ecstasy. Queen Hai Exen did not say it directly, but her attitude was clear. She would rather Yang Dingtian die than let Yang Dingtian win. "I do want the Snakemen Empire to evolve into the Naga Empire, but first, I cannot lose the Snakemen Empire," Hai Exen said slowly. "Once Yang Dingtian becomes the ruler of the primal chaos world and becomes powerful to a certain extent, the Snakemen Empire will cease to exist." Then, Queen Hai Exen smiled at Dongli and said, "Wu Yuming asked you for the darkness crystal many times, but you were afraid that he would be too powerful, so you did not give it to him, right?" Dongli was shocked, then lowered his head and said, "Yes, Your Majesty. You are as wise as the Queen. I gave it to him." Queen Hai Exen said indifferently, "I gave him a big darkness crystal that the Snakemen Empire refined for half a year. Wu Maji came to me to ask for it, to poison Wu Yuming. I made the best of it and gave this darkness crystal to Wu Yuming. Therefore, Wu Yuming should be very shocking now. He might really surpass you in the future." Dongli trembled slightly and said, "Everything is the Queen's will." In Cloud Sky City, all the students and disciples stopped cultivating and sat in the square of Cloud Sky City. They closed their eyes and prayed for Yang Dingtian. In the valley, under the guidance of the mistress, all of Yang Dingtian's wives and children sat quietly in the hall and prayed for Yang Dingtian. Yang Li, who loved to cause trouble, also seemed to be affected. She sat motionless. Even Qin Mingli, who had an important position in Zhongjing, returned to the valley and prayed with everyone. All the citizens of Cloud Sky City stopped working and walked out of their houses. They sat on the road outside and prayed for Yang Dingtian. To everyone in Cloud Sky City, Yang Dingtian was their sky and their land. Once Yang Dingtian died, all their happy lives and everything they had now would go down the drain. Everything would be destroyed. In the Southwest Sea, the entire Southwest Fleet, which consisted of thousands of ships, surrounded the Netherworld Sea. The ancient giant beast, Xiao Xiao, was entrenched in the Netherworld Sea. All the cannons of the ships were loaded with shells. All the torpedoes of the submarines were in their launch tubes. No one needed to give orders. As long as the armed forces of the Netherworld Sea appeared on the surface of the sea, they would be mercilessly destroyed. In the sea outside Iron Furnace City, close to 2 million troops had boarded the ships. Thousands of ships of various types were ready to set off. There was no need for a ceremony. They just gave the order. They covered the sky and the sun and headed toward the North Middle Continent. At this moment, All the soldiers came out of their cabins and stood on the deck. They looked in the direction of Zhongjing and prayed for Yang Dingtian. They were also waiting for the final news. At this moment, the entire chaos world, which spanned hundreds of thousands of miles, had tens of millions of troops, and billions of people, were all waiting with bated breath for the final result. Was Yang Dingtian alive or dead? Unlike the big shots, the people and the low-level army were filled with fantasies. They did not know that Yang Dingtian's cultivation was not even 1/10 of Wu Yoming's. They only hoped for a miracle to happen, no matter how remote or even ridiculous this miracle was. At this moment, in the dueling arena of Zhongjing Main Hall, the two people who had gathered the attention of billions of people in the entire chaotic world were still quietly facing each other. A quarter of an hour had elapsed since they had stood motionless. Although no one shouted for the duel to begin, the duel had already begun. Of course, they were not playing a battle of wills. Although they were in the chaotic world, they were not that mysterious. The reason why they did not move was because Yang Dingtian was waiting for Wu Yuming to make a move. Wu Yuming was also waiting for Yang Dingtian to make a move. In the end, neither of them made the first move. They were in a stalemate. Okay, Wu Yuming said with a smile, "Junior brother Yang, I will personally write an epitaph for you. The people of the chaotic world will not forget you, and the history of the chaotic world will not forget you." Yang Dingtian smiled and did not answer. "I know, you are wearing your woman's demon spirit mist robe, you are also wearing her demon spirit black armor, you also have the universe ring and the guardian ring. You know you will lose today's battle, so you are doing your best to save your life." Wu Yuming sighed and said, "But I'm sorry, you can't live. Today you will die." Boom! Wu Yuming suddenly pulled out her sword and slashed out. In an instant, the entire Zhongjing Main Hall was suddenly shrouded in darkness. The sky of the entire square suddenly turned dark. The ground of the entire Zhongjing was trembling. All the mounts in the Zhongjing square instantly knelt on the ground. A destructive power suddenly burst out from Wu Yoming's body and attacked Yang Dingtian. The unparalleled darkness mystic flame was mixed with other mystic flames as well as all of Wu Yoming's mystic chi energy. 9 stars and 9 grades, the energy that was infinitely close to the half-saint's energy had all gathered together and blasted towards Yang Dingtian. He not only wanted Yang Dingtian to die, but also wanted to destroy him and make him disappear from the human world. This destructive power instantly flew out and hit Yang Dingtian. Because Yang Dingtian could not move at all, even with the demon spirit mist robe. He could only watch helplessly as he was struck by this shocking force. Bang! Then, Yang Dingtian's entire body was instantly swallowed by this destructive power. The sky of Zhongjing changed completely. The Zhongjing main hall was shaking. Dark clouds were rolling like thunder. A bolt from the blue, as if the end of the world had come. Everyone in the main hall was horrified. He looked on helplessly as Yang Dingtian was completely engulfed by this world-destroying energy. It turned out that there were no miracles. It turned out that Yang Dingtian was definitely going to die. Everyone in the Council of Light felt as if they were struck by lightning. Their hearts were dead. The people sitting behind Wu Yuming were shocked. Then they were completely relieved. Good. It was good that Yang Dingtian was dead. No one would punish them. They were completely relieved. No one would force them to fight to the death with the evil Tao. It was good that Yang Dingtian was dead. Ling Wu's heart suddenly felt empty. It was as if someone had completely cut out her heart. She told herself with trembling lips, he was seeking his own death. It was his ambition that caused him to die today. His death was for the overall situation of the chaotic world, for the future of the chaotic world. However, all of a sudden, suddenly, the destructive power that surrounded and destroyed Yang Dingtian's figure disappeared without a trace in an instant. All of the terrifying power suddenly drilled into Yang Dingtian's body. Yang Dingtian was still unscathed as he stood in the middle of the arena. It was just that his entire body seemed to be burning with raging flames. Moreover, this raging flame was of a strange color. It was hard to tell what color it was. In short, his entire body was like a ball of burning fire. Then he opened his eyes. His eyes shot out a terrifying light that instantly burned people's hearts. He suddenly pulled out his sword and slashed toward Wu Yuming. Whoosh! Suddenly, the destructive power that was swallowed by his body, together with a mysterious dark green flame in his body, turned into a terrifying dragon in an instant. It whistled toward Wu Yuming with incomparable ferocity. Wu Yuming was horrified when she felt an incomparably familiar yet incomparably terrifying power. No. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. How could he have the dark profound fire? No, this is not the dark profound fire. This is a more terrifying supreme power. I can't accept this, I can't accept this, I can't accept this. Looking at this terrifying energy, as if the demon abyss was attacking her, Wu Yuming let go of all her unwillingness. Her survival instinct instantly enveloped her entire body. Then, she used all her strength to perform the demon spirit flash technique and fled frantically. In an instant, she flew dozens of miles into the air. However, that terrifying dragon instantly swelled hundreds of times, directly dozens of miles long. Like a ghost, it instantly appeared behind her. Then, this black shadow dragon suddenly drilled into her body. Wu Yuming, who was in the air, let out an earth-shattering shriek of agony. It was an earth-shattering shriek. The dark clouds in the sky of the entire Zhongjing suddenly struck with shocking lightning. The ground of the entire Zhongjing was fiercely torn apart piece by piece. The wind whistled, shaking the sky and the earth. It was as if the whole sky was about to crash down and crush the entire Zhongjing. Wu Yuming's entire body emitted a terrifying black light. Her skin was torn apart inch by inch. Fresh blood splattered in the air. Wu Yuming's entire body was torn apart and deformed. She, who was peerlessly handsome, instantly looked like a ferocious ghost. In the sky above Zhongjing, she let out a mournful roar. Whoosh, 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 that giant dragon fiercely penetrated Wu Yuming's body. Finally, it fiercely dragged out a black flame in Wu Yuming's body and then swallowed it alive. That's right, this dragon dragged Wu Yuming's dark profound fire out of her sea of qi and swallowed it alive. Then, it condensed into a green flame in the air. Then this flame completely disappeared in the air. It slowly appeared in the depths of Yang Dingtian's sea of qi, quietly burning, and then slowly sank into the depths of the sea of qi. Wu Yuming's body, like a straw, was thrown hundreds of miles away and disappeared. This duel that determined the fate of the world was officially over. From the real beginning to the complete end, it was less than a minute. And the real blow that determined the fate of the world was less than a second. Therefore, it could be called an instant kill. Chapter 712. Yang Dingtian 1. The one who was most surprised and astonished by this matter was Yang Dingtian himself. He really didn't expect to win, or else he wouldn't have made so many preparations. Not only was he prepared to lose, he was also mentally prepared to die. In fact, the demonic spirit fog coat and demonic spirit black armor couldn't save his life, not to mention the guardian ring and cosmos ring. When Wu Yuming made her move, Yang Dingtian's entire body was confined and he couldn't move at all. Then, was Yang Dingtian not mentally prepared for this result at all? No, Yang Dingtian was mentally prepared, and he had thought about it for a long time. He even subconsciously treated him as the only miracle that could happen. If there was anyone in this world who had predicted this result, it would be Yang Dingtian himself. Yang Dingtian wasn't very smart, and his IQ wasn't high, but he was very focused. In this duel, he saw it more clearly than anyone else. Therefore, he wasn't completely unprepared for this miracle to happen, and he even had a certain theoretical idea. But he had always said that one shouldn't expect a miracle to happen. He had also always said that one should prepare for the worst and welcome the best result. Therefore, he had set up a series of strategies for the aftermath of defeat, including the mobilization of millions of troops and the withdrawal of thousands of miles of territory. Then, was the result of this duel an accident? Was it a coincidence? No, it was definitely not a coincidence. It was inevitable. It was the inevitability of fate. Then, how did Yang Dingtian win? It was very, very simple. The whole process of defeating Wu Yuming was almost the same as the process of Yang Dingtian consuming the darkness crystal to awaken the darkness mystic flame in the world of ice and snow. Yang Dingtian's darkness mystic flame had swallowed an astronomical amount of deep-sea mystic poison, and because the energy was too strong, the darkness mystic flame couldn't complete the digestion process with Yang Dingtian's energy sea. It would only crush Yang Dingtian to pieces. Then what should he do? The darkness profound flame sank into the deep space of Yang Dingtian's energy sea, away from the energy field of his energy sea. Then, it entered a deep slumber and used the slowest speed to digest it while waiting for Yang Dingtian to become stronger. However, Yang Dingtian had consumed the darkness crystal. All of a sudden, the slumbering black-green flame was awakened. Why was it awakened? This was because the mystic flame and the dark crystal had an extremely strong suction force. It was a suction force, not an attraction force. Attraction was subjective, but suction, or gravity, was objective and would definitely happen. What should he do after awakening the black-green mystical fire? Yang Dingtian's body simply could not withstand it. There was no other way. The black-green mystic flame could only completely release its energy into the world of ice and snow. As a result, hundreds of miles of ice and snow melted and turned into boiling water. Then, it was completely frozen. With this, Yang Dingtian finally managed to consume all the energy that he couldn't endure. That's right, it was exhausted, or rather, wasted. Yang Dingtian could not absorb it, and it was awakened by the black-green mystic flame. This flame had no choice but to save its master. As for the mystic flame that was mixed with the darkness crystal and deep-sea mystic poison, it was incomplete because it lacked something. As a result, it looked as if it had no power. However, it had another instinct, and that was to eat. In other words, it was swallowing energy. However, ever since it swallowed the deep-sea mystic poison, it did not swallow all kinds of energy. Currently, it only swallowed the deep-sea mystic poison and the darkness crystal. As for what other energy it swallowed, Yang Dingtian did not know for the time being. In other words, this thing basically swallowed the darkness crystal crazily when it saw it. Then Wu Yuming coincidentally had the darkness mystic flame. Wasn't this bad luck? Of course, this was fate as well. Many years ago, young Lord Wu Yuming accidentally created the darkness mystic flame from the darkness crystal and mystic flame. How excited and proud was that? Moreover, it had been so many years and he had never used it before. However, in order to kill Yang Dingtian, he had to use it, right? Why did he have to use it? Because Yang Dingtian had the demon spirit black armor, the Qian Kun ring, and the guardian ring. It was not a problem to win if he attacked with a plop. It was easy to beat Yang Dingtian until he fled. However, it was not easy to kill Yang Dingtian. And our young Lord Wu Yuming was a respectable person. He had to be killed instantly. Moreover, it just so happened that Yang Dingtian's woman, Wu Maji, gave him such a huge darkness crystal as a gift. It was a huge surprise. His darkness mystic flame had increased by so many levels. In fact, with Wu Yuming's cultivation, he was almost unable to devour the dark crystal. Therefore, young Lord Wu Yuming felt that the heavens wanted him to kill Yang Dingtian instantly. Therefore, if he wanted to kill Yang Dingtian instantly, he had to use the darkness mystic flame. If he used the darkness mystic flame, he would definitely kill Yang Dingtian instantly. Then, young Lord Wu Yuming used the darkness mystic flame. To be honest, the energy of his darkness mystic flame was even stronger than that of Yang Dingtian's. Because his darkness crystal was 10 times more powerful than that of Yang Dingtian's. Not only did he use the darkness mystic flame, but he also used other mystic flames and other mystic skills. He used all of them at once. Young Lord Wu Yuming injected almost all of his mystic qi into it. Not only did he want to kill Yang Dingtian instantly, he also wanted to turn him into ashes. His attack was indeed powerful. Instantly, the sky changed drastically as though it was the end of the world. Moreover, even if Yang Dingtian had the demon spirit mist cloak, he could not move at all. Demon spirit black armor, guardian ring, universe ring, they were all useless against the darkness mystic flame. Yang Dingtian could not resist at all and was about to be turned into ashes. However, the black-green mystic flame in his vital energy reserve was instantly excited. Instantly, a fatal suction force was created between it and Wu Yuming's darkness mystic flame. Originally, Wu Yoming's darkness mystic flame was stronger. After all, she had swallowed a few mystic flames and a huge darkness crystal. However, Yang Dingtian's darkness mystic flame had already evolved. Not only had it swallowed the darkness crystal, it had also swallowed the deep sea mystic poison. Although the energy was small, it was of a high level. Just like a snake, although it was small in size and strength, it could still swallow a dog alive. Therefore, the black-green mystic flame suddenly swallowed Wu Yoming's darkness mystic flame and any other energy. However, the level of Yang Dingtian's vital energy reserve was still too low. It could not withstand this energy. Therefore, just like in the world of ice and snow, in order to save its master, the black-green mystic flame could only spit out all this energy. It would not be good to spit it out anywhere else. The entire central capital main hall would probably be smashed into pieces. Therefore, it spat on Wu Yoming's body. Moreover, it completely regarded the darkness mystic flame as its life. It also swallowed the darkness mystic flame in Wu Yoming's vital energy reserve completely. Wu Yoming had no choice but to obey. However, the black-green mystic flame's energy level was higher. Therefore, Wu Yoming was beaten miserably by this huge energy. The darkness mystic flame was also swallowed alive. Of course, he was also very strong. After being attacked by such a powerful energy, he actually did not get smashed into pieces. Therefore, Yang Dingtian's seemingly awe-inspiring slash was actually just the black-green mystic flame spitting out the excess energy for its former master. After it spat on Wu Yoming's body, it swallowed all the darkness mystic flame. However, there was another problem. The energy of Wu Yoming's darkness mystic flame was extremely huge. Yang Dingtian's vital energy reserve could not withstand it. Therefore, it could only sink into the deep space of the vital energy reserve helplessly and lay dormant. Just like that, Yang Dingtian killed Wu Yoming instantly. Although it was a shocking miracle, it was definitely not an accident or a coincidence. It was inevitable. Even if it happened 10 times, 100 times, the result would still be the same. This result was already destined when Wu Maji borrowed the darkness crystal from Hai Exin. When Hai Exin gave the darkness crystal to Wu Maji out of selfishness. Therefore, Wu Maji did not do anything wrong out of kindness. Her actions directly led to Wu Yoming's great defeat. It was just that the process was a little scary. Then, how confident was Yang Dingtian about this result? How confident was he that he could kill Wu Yoming instantly? Subconsciously, in the depths of his heart, when he awakened the darkness mystic flame, he felt that it was 80%, or even more. Of course, this was his subconscious. However, his rationality felt that this possibility was less than 10%, because he did not dare to hope for a miracle, nor could he hope for a miracle. More importantly, he felt that this kind of conjecture, this kind of wisdom, could only be confirmed by someone with a very high IQ. He did not have much confidence in his own IQ. Therefore, although he had a feeling about this result, he did not dare to imagine it at all. This was like when a person was thinking of the most perfect thing in his mind, he did not expect it to happen. However, when it really happened, he became the most surprised person. If Yang Dingtian still had a little bit of fantasy about this result, then to everyone in the main hall, it was completely like a bolt out of the blue. How is this possible? Is this world crazy? Or are my eyes playing tricks on me? Or am I dreaming? How is this possible? Even if it was 100 times, 1,000 times, this kind of thing would not happen. Even the people from the Council of Light felt as if their hearts were about to explode. They had never thought of winning. They only thought that their sect master could survive. They even thought that their sect master would definitely die this time. Then, not only did Yang Dingtian win, it was an absolute instant kill. This was too crazy. Because the surprise was so great that the people from the Council of Light felt that their brains short-circuited. They could not react at all for a while, and they could not even show their surprised expressions. And the people standing on Wu Yoming's side were stunned for a full quarter of an hour. Is this a dream? Oh, this is not a dream. God, this is not a dream. Yang Dingtian won, Wu Yoming was instantly killed. And we have actually turned to Wu Yoming. What should we do? What should we do? What should we do? Was he dead for sure? We must be doomed. Then, is it too late to sell ourselves to Yang Dingtian now? Turn to him now? Is it too late? Originally, these leaders of Zhongzhou state should immediately change their faces at this time, go to Yang Dingtian, kneel, or cry. In short, they must beg for Yang Dingtian's forgiveness, so that they could have a chance to be human again. However, things changed so much that they had no chance to react at all. Therefore, after they regained their consciousness, they still sat there in a daze. And at this time, after Vulture was completely stunned and turned into wood, her whole body was ice cold, as if she had fallen into a bottomless abyss. Then, her heart was filled with endless resentment. But she had just abandoned some precious moral character and pinned all her hopes on Wu Yuming. When she was at the peak of her glory, he actually kicked her to hell with a single kick. This world was too unfair, too unfair. As for Ling Wu, the moment Wu Yuming was defeated, her body lost all its reactions. Was it heartbroken? No, when she thought that Yang Dingtian had died, it was a heart-wrenching pain. And when Wu Yuming was defeated, it was as if she had been struck by a huge thunderbolt. Her whole person seemed to have broken down in an instant, and then she completely lost all her reactions. If it was said that Yang Dingtian had caused her emotions to throb, then Wu Yuming was her ideals, will, and all her hopes. Because, in the entire world, only Wu Yuming was willing to acknowledge Ling Wu's value. In the eyes of everyone else, Ling Wu was worthless. Only Wu Yuming acknowledged and praised her. It could be said that losing Wu Yuming was equivalent to losing everything. Therefore, when Wu Yuming was defeated and completely disappeared, Zhang Xian's eyes lit up. How did Ling Wu feel? It was like a person who had lost all his career in an instant. His stocks had fallen to the bottom, and he had gone bankrupt. He was at the end of his rope. So much so that his own ideals had been completely destroyed. In this world, there were very few people who would jump off a building due to heartbreak. However, there were many people who would jump off a building due to bankruptcy. Every time there was a stock market disaster, there would be waves of people who would jump off a building to commit suicide. The ones who were the most shocked were Tai Muley and Mutsun from the Sea of Netherworld. However, at the same time, they were also the first to regain their senses. In an instant, the gaze that Tai Muley used to look at Yang Dingtian became incomparably strange, incomparably dangerous, and not necessarily fearful. Yang Dingtian only stayed for 5 minutes. 5 minutes later, he directly disappeared from the main hall. In the blink of an eye, he had flashed dozens of miles and hundreds of miles away. Very soon, Tai Muley was so shocked that she wanted to chase after him. This was because she knew what Yang Dingtian wanted to do. Yang Dingtian wanted to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. He wanted to take advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to slaughter Wu Yuming. However, Tai Muley would definitely not be able to chase after him. This was because Yang Dingtian had the demonic spirit fog cloak. After Yang Dingtian chased after him, the second person to chase after him was Ling Wu. At this moment, Yang Dingtian was already hundreds of miles away. Wearing the demonic spirit fog cloak, he frantically searched every corner to find Wu Yuming. He wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to completely kill him. Chapter 713. After searching for a long time, Yang Dingtian, wearing the demon spirit mist cloak, almost searched the entire middle continent, but he did not see Wu Yuming. He seemed to have disappeared from this world. The masters of the Netherworld Sea and the Vulture Palace were still in the South Mansion. In addition, the Black Vulture Army of the South Middle Continent did not withdraw, but was still stationed in the South Middle Continent. Even the leaders of the Middle Continent who had previously turned to Wu Yuming had completely become cowards. They stopped all actions of occupying territories in the north, but they did not come to Yang Dingtian's North Mansion to sell themselves to him. In short, the entire upper level of the Middle Continent seemed to be in a strange silence. Of course, this did not mean that these forces of the Middle Continent were going to fight against Yang Dingtian. Of course not, they were scared out of their wits. They were praying that Yang Dingtian would not find trouble with them. How could they dare to fight against Yang Dingtian? They might want to come to the North Mansion to pay respects to Yang Dingtian again and choose a new team. However, after all, some of them had just changed their allegiance 2 or 3 days ago. And most importantly, if they went to Yang Dingtian at this time to admit their mistakes and beg for mercy, they would definitely pay a huge price. Maybe they would lose their army and their territory. Although Wu Yuming was not there, at least the Netherworld Sea and the Vulture Palace were in front of them now, weren't they? They felt that before the Vulture Palace and the Netherworld Sea were dealt with, Yang Dingtian would not do anything to them. Moreover, the most important thing was that Wu Yoming's whereabouts were unknown. Therefore, the leaders of the Middle Continent were cowards for the time being. They did not fight, nor did they beg for mercy. They were waiting for Yang Dingtian to take the initiative to find them, so that they would suffer as little loss as possible. However, the strange quiet atmosphere of the Middle Continent did not prevent the Council of Light, the West Continent, and part of the East Continent from falling into a carnival. After Yang Dingtian's victory, hundreds of demon vulture messengers immediately flew in all directions of the chaotic world. In just 1 day and 1 night, almost all the territories of the Council of Light received this good news that made them go crazy. Then, all the territories of the Council of Light instantly fell into a boiling sea. Cloud Sky City, in particular, had become a city that never sleeps. Countless wines and delicacies were placed on both sides of the streets. The citizens of Cloud Sky City took out all the good things in their homes and shared them with their neighbors. After the celebration in Cloud Sky City, countless citizens began a grand parade from Great Cloud Sky City to Cloud Sky City Castle. And that time, Yang Dingtian's wife and child had a rare party together. Usually, Yang Dingtian's family kept a very low profile and rarely showed themselves in front of the world. Western Capital City, Iron Furnace City, Qin City, Ba City, and the other 3 cities of the southwest continent were also celebrating. The navy that was rushing to Zhongzhou State even fired 9 shells into the empty sea to express their inner ecstasy. At the same time, all the soldiers' worship and faith towards Yang Dingtian rose to an unparalleled level. In their hearts, Yang Dingtian was already undefeatable. At that time, Ling Wu immediately went out to look for Wu Yuming, but the Vulture Palace did not. After a period of complete coldness and a period of absent-mindedness, she first left the Zhongjing main hall, then left Zhongjing and flew directly back to the Vulture Palace. Such ruthlessness stunned everyone. And 8 hours after Wu Yoming's defeat, the news immediately reached Wu Lingzi's ears. At that time, he was standing outside the straw hut, waiting for the news of Yang Dingtian's death. However, the news of Wu Yoming's failure came instead of the news of his death. In an instant, Wu Lingzi was really like a bolt from the blue. Then, a deep sense of fear welled up in his heart. That's right, it was fear. When the mountain wind blew, he actually felt a little cold. It was really ridiculous that he actually knew fear. He was one of the rare half-sages in the world. If the Demon King and the Devil Queen did not appear, no one in the world would be his opponent. However, what he was afraid of was the unknown. How was this possible? How was this possible? He was clear about Wu Yoming's cultivation later on. Moreover, Wu Yuming did not hide anything in front of him. She was a 9-star 9th grade Great Grandmaster. Although there was a huge disparity between her fighting strength and that of a half-sage, her realm was only half a step away. Wu Yuming was actually defeated? How was this possible? How powerful was Yang Dingtian? Logically speaking, only a half-sage could defeat a 9-star 9th grade Great Grandmaster. Wu Lingzi was certain that Yang Dingtian had not broken through to the half-sage realm. However, how old was Yang Dingtian? He was merely 24 years old. He had only started cultivating for a few years. In merely 4 years, he was already able to defeat Wu Yuming. Who else in this world would be able to stop Yang Dingtian's advancement? Perhaps he would break through to the half-sage realm in 2 or 3 years. Then, he would at least be able to defeat him before the age of 30. Once Yang Dingtian's cultivation surpassed his, he would definitely come to kill him. Wu Lingzi knew that although Yang Dingtian hated Wu Yuming, he also admired her a little. But to him, it was pure hatred and disdain. Wu Lingzi had never doubted that Yang Dingtian's cultivation would surpass his before the age of 30. However, the reason why he dared to offend Yang Dingtian was that he thought that Yang Dingtian would definitely die this time and that Wu Yuming would definitely be able to kill him. However, the result was beyond his wildest dreams. Not only did Wu Yuming fail to kill him, but she was also defeated in one move. Therefore, he felt cold all over and infinite fear. This time, Yang Dingtian did not die. He would be in trouble. The Vulture Palace would be in big trouble. It might even be a disaster. He ignored the messenger who came to inform him. Then he returned to his straw hut in a daze. He gasped for breath and then sat down in the middle of the straw hut. Then Wolingzi sat there, chattering and muttering to himself. In 5 or 6 years, Yang Dingtian would definitely come to kill him. He would definitely come to kill him. Damn Wu Yuming! Damn Wu Yuming! Damn Wu Yuming! She should be cut into pieces. It was all your bragging that made me think that Yang Dingtian would definitely die. That was why I tried so hard to show off. Now, I have completely offended Yang Dingtian. If Yang Dingtian does not die this time, it will be me who will die in the future. The Vulture Palace will be finished. Wolingzi desperately forced himself to calm down. He had to think of a way. He had to think of a way. In an instant, Wolingzi had an impulse to immediately withdraw all the Black Vulture Corps in the south-central continent. Then, he closed all the connections between the Vulture Palace and the outside world. It seemed that as long as he hid, nothing would happen. But he knew very well that this time, he could not escape. He could not escape. Then an idea came to his mind. How about I kill Yang Dingtian with my own hands? Yes, I will kill Yang Dingtian with my own hands. If he doesn't die, I will definitely die in 5 or 6 years. Then, Wolingzi suddenly stood up and was about to walk out of the straw hut. He was about to rush to Zhongjing to kill Yang Dingtian. But just as he reached the door of the straw hut, he stopped. No, I can't go, I can't go. Maybe Yang Dingtian already expected me to go and is setting up an inescapable trap? Maybe Hai Xan is also here. Zhu Qingzhu is also here. Du Gushao is also here. If I go, I will definitely die. Yes, I can't go. Then, Wolingzi immediately ran back to his cushion and sat down. Of course, at this time, Yang Dingtian's life was saved. If he went to find Yang Dingtian at this time and really went all out to kill Yang Dingtian, of course, Yang Dingtian would not be able to stop him. However, this person was already extremely paranoid. I can't kill Yang Dingtian. What should I do? Should I beg Dongli and let Dongli kill him? No, that bitch Ling Bai has already escaped from Dongli and went to Yang Dingtian's side. Dongli is currently dissatisfied with the Vulture Palace. Moreover, Dongli is currently under the command of Queen Hai Xan, and Queen Hai Xan wants Yang Dingtian to be her husband. What should I do? What should I do? Wolingzi immediately paced up and down in the straw hut. He was unable to calm down. Although Yang Dingtian would only come to kill him 5 or 6 years later, to him, this was already a huge matter. Why was he so hell-bent on helping Wu Yuming? It was to perform in front of Wendian. He didn't want Wendian to challenge the battle god, but Wentian's defeat was at least 1,000 years later. Of course, it would be good if he could live for 1,000 years. But now, Yang Dingtian would come to kill him in 5 or 6 years. Speaking of which, he, Wolingzi, was also a peak expert in the universe. It was really strange for him to be able to reach such a stage. At this moment, a message came from outside that the Vulture Palace had returned. Wolingzi was instantly enraged. This bitch, after Wu Yuming changed her attitude towards the Vulture Palace, she considered herself as Wu Yuming's wife and cast aside her identity as the princess of the Vulture Palace. Now that Wu Yuming was finished, she came back like a stray dog? How could there be such a good thing? Therefore, Wolingzi had the intention to chase her away. But when he thought about how she was the only heavenly spirit master in the world, and more importantly, she was his daughter, Wolingzi's heart softened. At this moment, Wolingzi rushed up. His eyes were red and filled with fear. Old ancestor, what should I do? What should we do? When Wolingzi heard Vulture ask him what should he do, he frowned. This bitch was indeed selfish. Her first sentence was actually asking him what should he do? Little girl, did you see with your own eyes that Wu Yuming was killed in one move? Wolingzi asked in a trembling voice. Yes, it was killed in one move. Yang Dingtian came out unscathed. Vulture said in a trembling voice. Suddenly, Wolingzi's lips turned purple. He immediately blurted out, "Little girl, you are his sworn sister. He must still have feelings for you. Why don't you secretly get together with him?" In an instant, Vulture looked at Willingzi in disbelief. This was what his great-grandfather said? Where did his arrogant demeanor go? Why did it seem like he was even more scared out of his wits than her? No. Suddenly, Vulture said sternly, "I am not a prostitute. Even if I die, I will not beg Yang Dingtian, and I will not be with Yang Dingtian. I would rather be a prostitute than be Yang Dingtian's woman." After saying that, Vulture was also shocked. Why did she get so agitated and speak so loudly? Then, she vaguely understood that the short time she spent with Yang Dingtian was perhaps the purest time of her life. She did not want to face that time. Willingzi looked at Vulture, licked his dry and cold lips, and said, Why don't you go to the Dongli grassland?" Vulture was completely stunned. The old ancestor that he thought was as powerful as heaven and earth was actually so weak. Could it be that he only knew how to give away his woman, his daughter, as goods? First, he gave her to Wu Yuming, then he gave her to Yang Dingtian, and now he wanted to give her to Dongli. Previously, when the old ancestor gave Ling Bai to Dongli, although she was not very happy, she did not have much of a reaction. Instead, she despised Ling Bai, thinking that she was just a good and that it would not be her turn to experience such a thing. She did not expect that it would be her turn so soon. Vulture stared at Willingzi and said coldly, "Great-grandfather, old ancestor, my father, you are a semi-sage, you are a supreme expert in the world. Can you show half of the demeanor of an expert? Can you not be scared out of your wits by Yang Dingtian? Can you not let me down?" When these words came out, Willingzi's expression changed drastically. He gritted his teeth and felt that his authority and dignity had been attacked like never before. He immediately raised his hand and was about to strike down Vulture. However, what followed was an incomparable love in his heart. This was his daughter, his precious daughter, and also his only child. That's right, although he had many grandchildren, they were all in name. Little girl, great-grandfather. Oh, old father sees further than you. Yang Dingtian can't do anything to us now, but in 4 to 5 years, he will definitely come to kill me, to destroy our Vulture Palace. Willingzi said, "Moreover, no one will be able to stop him." "Then kill him. Kill him when he is at his proudest." Vulture said coldly, "Go to the central capital and kill him personally. This way, you will be able to answer to Emperor Wenin." In an instant, Vulture's cold and vicious face gave Willingzi a fright. Willingzi himself was incomparably sinister, but he didn't want his precious daughter to be the same. The reason why he loved Vulture so much was because his naive and quick-witted appearance had a stimulating effect on his old and weary heart. At this point, Vulture's eyes suddenly lit up. "Yes, great-grandfather, if you go and kill Yang Dingtian, this will be the best opportunity. In any case, if he doesn't die, we will die." Willingzi took a few deep breaths and said, "Little girl, I also want to kill him, but I can't. Yang Dingtian can obviously defeat Wu Yuming, but he pretends that he will definitely lose. This shows that this person is very scheming. He will definitely know that I want to kill him, so he must have set up a trap. If I go and kill him now, I will be walking into the trap." "Trap? Which trap in this world can harm you? Even if all the martial grandmasters in the Council of Light work together, they would still not be your match." Vulture said sternly, "Then what about Zhu Qingzhu and Dugashao? Although I won't lose with the two of them, I won't be able to kill Yang Dingtian. What if Queen Hai Xian also comes? I will be dead, I will be dead." Willingzi hissed, "No, I can't go. I definitely can't go. If I go, I will be finished." Vulture's expression changed. "Then go to the Netherworld Sea and find Wu Yu. You two half-sages will work together to go to the central capital and kill Yang Dingtian." Chapter 714. He heard Vulture telling him to find Wu Yu and the two semi-sage experts to kill Yang Dingtian. Willingzi's eyes lit up. This was indeed a feasible plan. If the two semi-sage experts Willingzi and Wu Yu joined forces to enter Zhongjing, then no one would be able to stop Yang Dingtian from dying. Even if Zhu Qingzhu, Dugashao, and Hai Xian joined forces, they wouldn't be able to defeat the two semi-sage experts. However, Wolingzi's heart sank into a strange mood. It wasn't Wolingzi's turn to kill Yang Dingtian. It should be the disciples of the Demon King Wendian who would kill him. If he and Wu Yu went to kill Yang Dingtian, wouldn't it be a bit too much? Wouldn't it be a bit too convenient for the Temple of Annihilation? This was Wolingzi's character. He was suspicious, fickle, and overcautious. Vulture suddenly said in a cold voice, "Great-grandfather, Yang Dingnan is still alive because you and he didn't kill him. Otherwise, Yang Dingtian would have died a long time ago. Moreover, this is the last chance. If you don't kill him now, you'll never be able to kill him. At that time, we'll be the ones to die, you'll be the one to die, and the Vulture Palace will be annihilated." Vulture's words could be said to be enlightening. Wolingzi was almost startled awake. Yes, this was the last chance to kill Yang Dingtian. If they missed this opportunity, they wouldn't be able to kill Yang Dingtian once he broke through to the semi-sage realm. At that time, it would be the end of the Vulture Palace. Wolingzi immediately stood up and said, "I'll go to the Netherworld Sea immediately." Vulture said, "By the way, the Netherworld Sea has been completely blocked by Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian's ancient giant beasts and thousands of ships have completely blocked the sea area within 100 miles. If you want to enter the Netherworld Sea, I'm afraid you'll have to put in some effort. I'm a semi-sage. An ancient sea beast can't do anything to me," Wolingzi said. Then, his body directly turned into a stream of light and headed towards the west. He did not even ride the Black Vulture and directly flew. At this time, many people had been sent out by the Council of Light to search for Wu Yoming's whereabouts, but to no avail. At this time, there was a meeting in the hall of the Council of Light. What were they discussing? Of course, it was how to deal with the current situation, how to deal with the situation in Zhongzhou State, and how to deal with the missing Wu Yuming. No one dared to imagine the result of the duel. But no one expected that they would really win, and it was an instant kill. Therefore, even though a day had passed, everyone in the Council of Light was still in a daze. They felt as though they were in a dream. Qiu Wanjie was mocked by everyone in the Council of Light. Song Shao even said bluntly, "Manor Lord Qiu, you're so close to Wu Yuming. Do you know where he went?" Qiu Wanjie only smiled embarrassedly and cupped his hands to beg for forgiveness. He was embarrassed but not too angry. In fact, although Qiu Wanjie had wavered many times, he was very, very happy with this result. From the bottom of his heart, he was willing to follow a leader like Yang Dingtian and not Wu Yuming. Wu Yuming was too cunning. Following him would be too scary and unpredictable. But Qiu Wanjie's character leaned towards weakness. He was really afraid that after Yang Dingtian died or was defeated, the divine weapons manor would be destroyed as well. Furthermore, he had a deep understanding of Yang Dingtian's breadth of mind. If he wanted to make a move on you, he would definitely do it directly. He would definitely not scheme against you. In fact, after Yang Dingtian's victory, his attitude towards Qiu Wanjie didn't change. He was still very tolerant and magnanimous. He still allowed him to participate in top-secret matters and didn't ostracize him. In fact, during the previous Council of Light's top-secret meeting, even though Qiu Wanjie was wavering, Yang Dingtian still allowed him to participate. Furthermore, Qin Wanchou and Song Shao had been openly mocking Qiu Wanjie, but Yang Dingtian didn't say a single word. Therefore, although Yang Dingtian's political skills and methods were ordinary, his breadth of mind was incomparable. Of course, Qiu Wanjie also knew that this was the last time he wavered. There definitely wouldn't be a next time. Even though Yang Dingtian didn't say a single word, if Qiu Wanjie wavered again, it would be his death date. At that time, either his younger brother or his son would be on the stage. At that time, even if Yang Dingtian wanted to execute him, as his own son, Qiu Yiming, wouldn't stand on his side. The current Qiu Yiming was already Yang Dingtian's most fervent supporter. However, he was inexperienced and his cultivation was weak. At this time, he had entered the Heavenly Edict Academy and was madly cultivating. Therefore, when faced with Song Shao and Yun Kalen's mockery, although he was a little embarrassed, he didn't take it to heart. This was because Yang Dingtian's attitude didn't change. Although Dongfang Minmi didn't treat him well, he didn't say a single word either. None of the Central Continent's leaders have taken the initiative to enter the North Mansion to admit their mistakes? Yang Dingtian asked. Yun Junnu checked the records and said, not yet. However, some of the Central Continent's leaders' family members are flying towards the northwest mainland to visit your wives. Unpresentable things. Song Xiao twitched his mouth. Yun Junnu said, there's enough information to show that the Central Continent's leaders held 2 secret meetings the day after the duel. The discussion was about the Central Continent's forces joining forces and advancing and retreating together. Yang Dingtian said, then, seniors, if you agree to stabilize the situation of the Central Continent and solve the problems of the Vulture Palace and the Netherworld Sea first, or at least let them stay neutral and watch, then solve the problems of the Central Continent, raise your hands. Dongfang Minmi, Song Liwa, Qin Huayu, Qiu Wanjie, Li Guinong, Duan Ruyan, Zhuaqing Qi, and most of the others raised their hands. Strangely, Qin Wanchou and Song Chunhua did not raise their hands twice, as if they were neutral. Seeing Yang Dingtian looking at him, Qin Wanchou smiled and said, Sect Master, it's really hard for me to choose this time, so I'll stay neutral. Song Chunhua said, me too. Yang Dingtian could not help but look at Yun Junnu. She was stunned and waved her hand. I'm just a clerk. I don't have the right to vote. Oh, there was one person who did not raise her hand. That was Dishi Bian. Seeing Yang Dingtian looking at her, she was stunned and said, I'm casual. Yang Dingtian was speechless. He decided not to ask Dishi Bian about her attitude in the future. He would just treat her as if she did not exist, because she really did not care about these things. She was casual. Yet, such a person was still the #1 expert in the Radiant Parliament. It was truly laughable. Then let me explain my attitude. Yang Dingtian said, first of all, as Master Yun Kalen said, we don't have the ability to solve the problems of the Vulture Palace and the Netherworld Sea. In fact, it would be very difficult for us to get them to adopt a neutral attitude. The key point was that Wu Lingzi could not be described as an ordinary person. This person is arrogant, conceited, and as timid as a mouse. If you talk to him seriously, you won't be able to get anything done. He will ask for a sky-high price. Moreover, this person basically does not want to help others. If you want him to stay neutral, it's very simple. Hit him. As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. Hit him? Wu Lingzi was a half-saint. They could not hit him. Of course, it's fake, not real. Yang Dingtian said, last time, his Black Vulture Corps was going to enter Zhongjing. I fired 10 super missiles. In fact, it did not cause any damage to the Vulture Palace. However, it scared him immediately. He ordered the Black Vulture Corps to withdraw. Therefore, this person remembers the consequences but not the consequences. Yang Dingtian continued, if we use war to solve the problem of Zhongzhou State, what are the obstacles? There are only the Vulture Palace and the Netherworld Sea. The Netherworld Sea lacks the means to intervene in the war for the time being. The only thing that can interfere and stop our war is the problem of the Black Vulture in the Vulture Palace. Therefore, as long as we solve the problem of the Vulture Palace, we can start the war. Then, how do we solve the problem of the Vulture Palace? Yang Dingtian said, according to Wu Lingzi's character, it's still one word. It's still fake, not real. How can we fake it? It's very simple. Send an elite Demon Vulture Corps to kill hundreds of Demon Vultures with the brand new experimental weapon, the Crystal Launchers, and we will take the initiative to create disputes and friction. We will act as if we are going to attack the Vulture Palace and destroy the Black Vulture Corps. That will be enough. Yang Dingtian said, therefore, I agree with President Song Zhao's opinion. We can solve the problem of Zhongzhou State completely with war. As soon as he said this, Song Zhao's eyes lit up. Yang Dingtian continued, however, I suggest that we use the method of building one plank road under the guise of passing through another. First of all, we will take the initiative to find the leaders of Zhongzhou State and have a talk with them. We will discuss the matter of thoroughly rectifying Zhongzhou State and set very high conditions. We will directly let the Council of Light take charge of the entire Zhongzhou State and revoke 90% of the territories of the feudal lords. As for the leaders of the major sects, as long as they have surrendered to Wu Yuming, They will all be replaced. They will definitely not agree, Song Lihua said. Yes, what we want is for them to disagree. Yang Dingtian said, then, our Chaos Times will immediately publish a comprehensive announcement that Wu Yuming is the adopted son of the evil ways, the Demon King Wentian. Don't worry, we already have enough evidence and materials about this matter. We will report for a month in a row and let the people of the world know Wu Yuming's identity. We will completely confirm his identity as the leader of the evil ways. Yang Dingtian continued, in this way, whoever surrenders to Wu Yuming will be the leader of the evil ways. According to this crime, we will be on the same side and attack those who are not. The third step is to take the initiative to create friction with the Vulture Palace and make it look like we are going to war with the Vulture Palace. While negotiating with the leaders of Zhongzhou State, we will create friction with the Vulture Palace and make it look like we are going to war to paralyze the leaders of Zhongzhou State. Yang Dingtian said, the fourth step is to wait until the Vulture Palace completely compromises. Millions of troops will directly attack Zhongzhou State from the north and south. Use lightning warfare and storm warfare to take down the entire Zhongzhou State in the shortest time possible. The key is to be fast and thorough. I suggest that the entire Zhongzhou State campaign, from the beginning to the end, should not exceed 3 months. Then, Yang Dingtian looked at Song Xiao and said, and the frontline commander of this Zhongzhou State campaign will be Guild Master Song Xiao, and the deputy commander will be City Lord Kuei Si. When these words came out, everyone's hair stood on end. Those fence-sitters in Zhongzhou State were going to be unlucky. Sure enough, if Song Xiao, the butcher, was the commander, he would really kill the entire Zhongzhou State. Immediately, Song Xiao's eyes lit up, and he was so excited that his beard straightened. He said sternly, I give a military order, I will definitely give you a complete, thorough, and clean Zhongzhou State. The Council of Light was going to take advantage of this rare opportunity to completely massacre Zhongzhou State. Yang Dingun said, next, I will issue a few orders. The first order is to immediately publish the Chaos Times, completely disclose Wu Yuming's identity, kill him, and never make a comeback. As for the information, go to Madame Wu Maji for it. The second order is to immediately draft the negotiation outline, form a negotiation team headed by Sect Master Dongfang Minmi, and City Lord Qin Wanchou as the deputy, and start negotiating with the leaders of Zhongzhou States. The third order is that I will write a Tiando League order, ordering the Vulture Palace's Wulingzi to immediately come to the Zhongjing Council of Light to admit his guilt, otherwise, he will bear the consequences. This order must be strict, and must be rude to Wulingzi, and create friction and conflict with the Vulture Palace. Yes. Everyone shouted in unison. Then, the power gears of the Council of Light began to turn, and the curtains of the bloodbath in Zhongzhou State began. Chapter 7:15. After Yang Dingtian gave the order, the headline of the next day's Chaos Times was a huge portrait of Wu Yuming. The face of this portrait was a realistic sketch, while the body was drawn in an elegant freehand style. Wu Yuming was graceful and calm. Her incomparably handsome face immediately appeared on the paper. There was only a huge portrait of Wu Yuming on the front page, followed by a headline. Wu Yuming was defeated in a single move in the duel 2 days ago, and her whereabouts were still unknown. As for the content, it was less than 100 words. Basically, it was about the time, place, people, and events. It described Wu Yuming's defeat and disappearance in an extremely objective way. Only Wu Yuming had such a huge portrait and such luxurious treatment on the headline of the Chaos Times. Even Yang Dingtian hadn't been there before. As for the content of the second page, it was a review of the duel between Yang Dingtian and Wu Yuming at the Tiando League conference a year ago. Whoever won would be the master of the Tiando League. After that, in the following pages, the news about the duel and Wu Yuming came to an end. It was all the normal content of the newspaper, all the way until the gossip section, where the content related to Wu Yuming appeared again. Moreover, it was indirectly related. The title of the content was, The Running Bride Ling Wu. This gossip was about Ling Wu and Yang Dingtian. It was about Ling Wu's strength, diligence, and independence. Then, how she met Yang Dingtian, how Yang Dingtian saved her, and how he saved Ling Wu's father. In short, the entire content could only be described with one word. And that was reality. Absolute reality. There wasn't a single bit of fiction. Yang Dingtian wanted to completely drive Wu Yuming away from public opinion. However, he definitely wouldn't create a single rumor, nor would he deliberately smear Wu Yuming's name. Everything was based on the facts. Therefore, it had to start from the story between Ling Wu and Yang Dingtian. And from today onwards, it would be a special issue of the Chaos Times for an entire month. He would expose everything that had happened between Wu Yuming and Yang Dingtian. Everything, including Ling Wu saving Wu Yuming, their chance encounter on the ship, Wu Yuming marrying Vulture, Kuei Si's disappearance, and so on, would only be revealed when Wu Yuming and Yang Dingtian entered the Ghost Hell region to have a secret talk with Dongli. Only then would Wu Yuming's identity as the Demon King Wen be revealed. In short, everything that had happened to Wu Yuming after she walked around the world would be written clearly and truthfully. He wouldn't lie or exaggerate at all. Every sentence, every matter, was backed by evidence. Finally, all the judgments were left to the readers. Therefore, the entire gossip would be serialized for an entire month from the beginning to the end. It could be said that Yang Dingtian, who had control of the Chaos Times, could have attacked Wu Yuming in public and exposed his identity a long time ago. However, he didn't do so, because before the duel ended, although these public attacks were meaningful, they were absolutely meaningless. He had to wait until Wu Yuming was completely defeated before he could be completely judged by public opinion. This was because Wu Yuming was different from the Seven Refined Lane. Wu Yuming was incomparably powerful. As for the Seven Refined Lane, Yang Dingtian could destroy it with a raise of his hand. All he needed was a reason. Therefore, he had to destroy their reputation first before destroying their physical body. Today was merely the beginning of the serialization of Wu Yuming. However, those who were observant had long smelled a terrifying scent. This was because they could see that although the Chaos Times was reporting on Wu Yuming, it wasn't just targeting Wu Yuming. It was targeting those fence-sitters. Once Wu Yuming's identity as a member of the Evil Ways was completely confirmed, there would be an absolute reason to destroy the leaders of Zhongzhou State by force. At the same time as the newspaper, the negotiations with the leaders of Zhongzhou State began. With Dongfang Minmi as the leader and Qin Wanqiu as the deputy, the negotiation team undoubtedly looked luxurious and sincere. Instantly, the leaders of Zhongzhou State heaved a long sigh of relief. As expected, Yang Dingtian was anxious to solve the problem and was also full of sincerity. This way, their danger was greatly reduced. In fact, the leaders of Zhongzhou State even felt some disdain in their hearts. They felt that Yang Dingtian was really not shrewd. He was really superficial to come in such a hurry to negotiate. Very soon, the representative of the Central Continent forces was also elected. On the fourth day after the duel, the negotiations were officially held. On behalf of the Council of Light, Dongfang Minmi directly put forward three main conditions. Disarm 90% of the vassals of Zhongzhou State. These vassals could enter the various defense areas as civil officials or military officials. Remove the territories of most of the vassals. The Tiando League would use the treasury, the shares of the Chamber of Commerce, and money to redeem their territories. All the leaders of the major sects who had surrendered to Wu Yuming, especially the leaders of the first-tier forces of the Tiando League, would be replaced. The old leaders would all enter the observation period to see what would happen in the future. Although the leaders of Zhongzhou State were afraid, they immediately exploded when they heard the news. Some of the leaders of Zhongzhou State couldn't help but be angry and directly curse, laughing at Yang Dingtian for being whimsical. Without a doubt, the first negotiation ended on a sour note. Then, the forces of Zhongzhou State and the Council of Light entered a state of indifference. The forces of Zhongzhou State stepped up their contact with the representatives of the Vulture Palace and the Netherworld Sea who stayed in the South Mansion. It wasn't easy to hold a second negotiation. The forces of Zhongzhou State hoped that the Council of Light could lower the conditions. However, Dongfang Minmi still put forward the same three conditions. Suddenly, the representative of Zhongzhou State couldn't stand it at all. He sneered and said, "Leader Yang Dingtian is so powerful. Why didn't he punish the Vulture Palace and the Netherworld Sea? Instead, he keeps making trouble for us. Is he bullying the weak and fearing the strong? Immediately, the second negotiation ended on a sour note. The indifference between the Council of Light and the forces of Zhongzhou State became more and more intense. The special issue of the Chaos Times continued to be published every day, and the progress of the negotiation was reported in real time. Therefore, the circulation of the Chaos Times during this period increased day by day. And Wu Yuming instantly replaced Yang Dingtian as the most famous person in the Chaos world. His presence was even stronger among the ordinary people. Because in the gossip, he was almost described as the protagonist, so he was very immersed in it. As a result, Wu Yuming gained many loyal fans, especially women. Therefore, the truth, objectivity, and authority of Wu Yuming's article was recognized by everyone. Although the half-saint Wulingzi's flying speed was not as fast as the Demon Vulture King, it was still very fast. Only one day later he reached the sky above the Netherworld Sea. Looking from the sky, the warships of the Southwest Fleet were densely packed and fully armed. They surrounded the area within a radius of a few hundred miles. At the entrance of the Netherworld Sea region, the ancient giant beast, Xiao Xiao, had already occupied the dozens of kilometers of sea beside the Silver Beach. Its gigantic body, which was thousands of meters long, was swimming in the sea, full of irritation and uneasiness. And almost all the underwater creatures in this sea had been eaten by it. The ancient giant beast Xiao Xiao was extremely fierce when it killed great masters in the sea. But as a half-saint, Wulingzi was not afraid of it. Of course, he didn't want to fight with such a stupid thing. Others might not be familiar with the entrance of the Netherworld Sea, but he was quite familiar with it. At a height of tens of thousands of meters, he found the entrance of the Netherworld Sea. Then, like a flash of light, he swooped down in an instant. Almost before the ancient giant beast Xiao Xiao reacted, he had already entered the sea, passed through the entrance, and entered the boundary of the Netherworld Sea. Wu Yuming was defeated, and she was defeated in one move, Wulingzi said. Wu Yu's beautiful and mysterious face was hard to distinguish between male and female. Even after so many years, Wulingzi still felt a suffocating feeling when he saw this face that was so beautiful that it made people hold their breath. When Wu Yu heard the news, there was almost no expression on her face. After a long time, she just sighed. It's only been 4 years since Yang Dingtian started cultivating. Although we don't have to be afraid of him now, we won't be able to control him when he breaks through to the half-saint realm in 3 to 5 years, Wulingzi said, and this person hates the Vulture Palace and the Netherworld Sea to the bone. I predict that in less than 10 years, he will definitely come to destroy the Vulture Palace and the Netherworld Sea. We can't raise a tiger and invite calamity. Then what do you mean? Wu Yu asked. Kill him before he becomes a half-saint, Wulingzi said. At this time, he has entered the Zhongjing. Kill him. Okay, then you go, Wu Yu said. Wulingzi was stunned and said, You won't go with me? Wu Yu smiled and said, Why should I go with you? You alone are more than enough to kill Yang Dingtian. Wulingzi said, But Yang Dingtian will certainly know that I want to kill him, so he will ask Dugu Xiao and Zhu Qingzhu to help. Although I'm not afraid with the two of them, I won't be able to kill Yang Dingtian. What I'm worried about is that if Queen Hai Xin is here, then not only will I not be able to kill Yang Dingtian, but I will also fall into a trap. It's hard to predict whether it will be a blessing or a curse. So, you invited me to the Zhongjing to kill Yang Dingtian? Wu Yu smiled and said, That's exactly what I meant, Wulingzi said. Wu Yu said, Wu Ling, first of all, let me tell you that Hai Xin will not be here. Although she has fantasies about Yang Dingtian, she doesn't want him to be strong, and it's not like she doesn't want Yang Dingtian to die. Secondly, Dugu Xiao may be secretly protecting Yang Dingtian, but Zhu Qingzhu won't. He's not even in the primal chaos world anymore. So, you alone are enough to kill him. Really? Wulingzi's eyes brightened. Of course, Wu Yu said. Wulingzi said, Then why don't you come with me? Wu Yu said, Because I can't go. Wulingzi said, Why is that? Wu Yu said, Because I have indirectly promised someone that I won't kill Yang Dingtian with my own hands. Who did you promise? Wulingzi asked. the guardian of the celestial Red Sea, Saint Tantai, Wu Yu said. Wolingzi was shocked. Tantai wants to protect Yang Dingtian, but you want me to kill him? Wu Yu said, first of all, Tantai has no intention of protecting Yang Dingtian. It's just that she and Yang Dingtian have a very small fate. When Yang Dingtian came to the Sea of Hades to take Shimin Yanyan away, he had a grudge with Song Yu. He defeated Song Yu and angered the Sea of Hades. I wanted to get rid of him, but I found Tantai's mark in his brain, a very faint mark. Tantai didn't want me to kill him at that time, although this fate has already been used up for Yang Dingtian. But since I have promised, I can't go back on my words. More importantly, you alone are more than enough to kill Yang Dingtian. If you want me to go with you, I think you are overestimating him. I am ashamed to go. Wolingzi nodded, then said, Queen Haixian really won't help Yang Dingtian. Of course not. Wu Yu said, in fact, in the matter of Yu Ming and Yang Dingtian's duel, Haixian secretly helped Wu Yuming, hoping that Yang Dingtian would lose, or even die. There's such a thing? Wolingzi was pleasantly surprised. Wu Yuming has a woman called Third Lady Gongsun. She is already dead, killed by Wu Maji. At this time, the soul in her body has become Qin Ji. Wu Maji went to Dongli grassland to ask for a huge darkness crystal and asked Qin Ji to poison Wu Yuming. However, Wu Yuming repeatedly asked for the darkness crystal from Dongli grassland, but to no avail. This is because he has the darkness mystic flame in his body that specializes in devouring mystic flames and darkness crystals. Haixian clearly knew that the darkness crystal could only make Yu Ming stronger, but she still gave it to Wu Maji. It can be seen that she wants to help Yu Ming. Wu Yu said, and during the duel, Wu Yuming's darkness mystic flame was much stronger than what I remembered, because it devoured the darkness mystic flame. Wolingzi said happily, it seems that Haixian really wants Yang Dingtian to die. However, Yu Ming has such a strong darkness mystic flame, why was he killed in one move? Wu Yu shook his head and said, this is not what I know. Maybe Yang Dingtian specializes in subduing the darkness mystic flame. If Wu Yuming didn't use the darkness mystic flame, she wouldn't have lost. It's really fate that Yang Dingtian was born to subdue him. After saying that, Wu Yu smiled and said, if that's the case, why are you still afraid of Yang Dingtian? Being stimulated by the goddess, Wolingzi's ambition was immediately ignited. He smiled and said, what a joke. Why would I be afraid of such a small ant? I'll go to the central capital now and slaughter him. Wu Yu said, then I'll wait for your good news. Wolingzi smiled and said, why don't you hear Yang Dingtian's head fall to the ground in 3 days' time? Then, Wolingzi bade farewell and left. He turned into a stream of light and rushed out of the Netherworld Sea region. The ancient giant beast, Xiao Xiao, couldn't stop him. It instantly went berserk and set off huge waves on the surface of the sea. However, inside the Netherworld Sea's barrier, Poland was not startled. After leaving the Netherworld Sea, Wolingzi's heart was filled with disdain and killing intent towards Yang Dingtian. Without Zhu Qingzhu, without Queen Haixian, what did he, Wolingzi, have to fear? Yang Dingtian, you're dead meat. Wolingzi's speed reached the extreme and flew towards the central continent. The Netherworld Sea and the southern barbarian continent were on the same level. After a full day, Wolingzi flew above the southern barbarian continent. He originally wanted to go to the central capital to kill Yang Dingtian and then return to the Vulture Palace. However, after thinking about it, what if something happened in the Vulture Palace? Therefore, he returned to the Vulture Palace first. After confirming that everything was fine, he went north to the central capital to kill Yang Dingtian. After entering the Vulture Palace, he first received a handwritten letter from Yang Dingtian. It was an imperial edict in the name of the Council of Light. Wolingzi, as one of the leaders of the Tiando League, you colluded with Wan Wentian's adopted son, Wu Yuming, and plotted to take over the position of the Tiando League. Your intentions are punishable by death, and your crimes are monstrous. I order you to come to the central capital to plead guilty within 23 days after receiving this letter. If you're late, you'll have to bear the consequences. The words in the letter were strict, and it was completely in a commanding tone. It was as if Wolingzi was one of those random sects in the central continent. After reading it, Lingzi flew into a rage. His killing intent was limitless. Chapter 716. Yang Ding, you're courting death. Then I'll fulfill your wish. Endless anger turned into a sentence of gnashing teeth. Then, the letter in Lingzi's hand directly turned into ashes. He suddenly turned into a stream of light and flew directly towards the north. He wanted to go to the central capital and dismember Yang Dingtian into pieces in front of everyone. He wanted to make him fall into hell when he was at his most glorious and complacent time. However, he had just flown for less than 100 miles. A thought suddenly emerged in his mind. Why did Yang Dingtian write me such a letter? He wants to provoke me on purpose? He wants to provoke me to go to the central capital to kill him? Otherwise, why would his letter be so rude and presumptuous? He's not an idiot. No, there's a conspiracy in this. There must be a conspiracy in this. I can't go. If I go, I'll be walking right into a trap. Yang Dingtian must have set a trap for me. Although I don't know what kind of trap it is, there must be a trap. Otherwise, why would he specially write a letter to me? Then Lingzi immediately shivered and stopped completely. Then he started to doubt Wu Yu's words. She said that Hai Xen hoped for Yang Dingtian to die. Maybe she was lying. Maybe Hai Xen already knew that Yang Dingtian had a way to restrain the darkness mystic flame. That was why she gave Wu Yuming the darkness crystal. Hai Xen wanted to help Yang Dingtian. She wanted him to kill Wu Yuming. I treat Wu Yu as a goddess, but she might treat me as a weed. She might also want to harm me. Then Lingzi laughed loudly and said, Yang Ding, you want to trick me and kill me? It's not that easy. The letter you wrote is completely a case of being too smart for your own good. Ha! Instead, I saw the flaw. Then Lingzi suddenly felt incomparably lucky. Fortunately, his wisdom was unparalleled, and he saw through Yang Dingtian's plot. If he rushed into Zhongjing, Zhuqingzhu, Dugushao, and Hai Xian would all be waiting for him. Although he wouldn't die, he would be seriously injured. Evil spirits could give people an immortal body, but their lifespan was limited. At most, they would reach the end of their lifespan after 100 or 200 years. The netherworld ghost flame gave people eternal life, but there was no such thing as an immortal body. He would still die if his heart was pierced by a sword. That was why Lingzi cherished his life so much. It wasn't easy for him to obtain immortality. If he were to be killed by someone, it would be such a waste. Therefore, for more than 100 years, Lingzi hid in the Vulture Palace and never came out. I've really lost my mind. Why did I get entangled with that little bastard Wu Yuming? Wu Yu is completely heartless to me. Why did I still have fantasies about her? I ended up in such a sorry state. I was actually humiliated by a mere junior. Hateful Wu Yuming, hateful Wu Yuming. Lingzi cursed loudly in the air. Then he decided to return to the Vulture Palace like this. Yes, he was really dejected. He flew out angrily and wanted to kill Yang Dingtian. In the end, he flew out less than 100 miles before he turned back. Therefore, Lingzi instinctively covered his face. He hoped that when he went back, he couldn't let the vulture see him. It was really too embarrassing. But what was he afraid of? What would come? Vulture directly flew over from the front and shouted, "Great-grandfather, great-grandfather." Lingzi planned to pretend that he didn't hear anything and flew directly back to the thatched hut. "Great-grandfather, I've thought about it. You can't kill Yang Dingtian. You can't kill him." Vulture shouted loudly. Lingzi was stunned and delighted. Then, he flew over and said coldly with a straight face, "Why can't I kill him? This ant thief should be cut into pieces. He actually dared to provoke me. He's purely seeking death." Then Lingzi stared coldly at Vulture and said, Are you soft-hearted? You can't kill him?" "No, I forgot. I still have the evil spirit planted in me by Wu Maji. If you kill Yang Dingtian, Wu Maji will definitely kill me," Vulture said loudly. For some reason, Lingzi felt slightly disappointed. Vulture continued, "Before we deal with Wu Maji, we can't kill Yang Dingtian. I'm thinking, how can we get hold of Wu Maji's weakness so that she won't dare to kill me?" Lingzi said, "Who does Wu Maji care about the most?" Yang Dingtian and her twins. Vulture said, yes, we'll capture her twins and use them as hostages. At that time, not only will Wu Maji not dare to kill me, she'll bow down to us and beg for mercy. When the time comes, I will definitely make her suffer 10 times the amount of torture. After saying that, Vulture's eyes lit up. She imagined the scene of torturing Wu Maji. Suddenly, her delicate and beautiful face became slightly distorted. Then, she looked at Walingzi and said, Ancestor, you haven't seen Wu Maji, right? She's a peerless beauty. None of the women in Vulture Palace can compare to her. She's even on par with Wu Yu. Don't you want to have a taste? Suddenly, Walingzi's eyes lit up. He wasn't lustful, but he had a preference for peerless beauties. Vulture said, Wu Maji's twin children are currently in the Snow Clan. There are several great Grandmaster realm powerhouses there. Ordinary people won't be able to take the twins away, but if you go, you'll definitely be able to capture them. Hearing this, Walingzi's face turned cold. His eyes became clear and he said, Girl, unless it's absolutely necessary, don't touch the twins or Yang Dingtian's children. Otherwise, he'll use all means to exterminate the Vulture Palace. Then Walingzi said coldly, All right, since that's the case, I'll let that brat Yang Dingun go before I deal with the evil energy in your body. However, since he dared to write a letter to insult me, I won't let him off lightly. I'll definitely teach him a lesson. How? Vulture asked. Go and send a message to Ling Chuzi. Tell him to send 30,000 Black Vulture army directly into Zhongjing. If God or Buddha blocks, kill them all. Walingzi said coldly. Vulture gritted his teeth and said, If I don't send the message, you'll send someone else? Walingzi asked. Before I find a way to get rid of him, I don't want to provoke him directly. Vulture said. Walingzi's face twitched. Then, he circulated his Xian Qi and said loudly, Listen to my order. Let Ling Chuzi lead the Vulture Palace's experts and send 30,000 Black Vulture army into Zhongjing. If God or Buddha blocks, kill them all. Immediately, several Vulture Palace's experts shouted. They sat on the Black Vultures and flew towards Nanzhong continent. At this moment, it had already been 6 days since the duel. The Council of Light's aerial army had almost searched the entire Nanzhong continent. However, they still couldn't find Wu Yoming's figure. It was as if he had really disappeared completely. Sect Master, Ling Wu has gone missing. Yun Zhenu reported, the people monitoring the southern residents have discovered that Ling Wu's figure isn't there. She should have left after disguising herself. Is it possible that she knows Wu Yoming's whereabouts? Yang Dingtian asked. It shouldn't be possible. Yun Zhenu said, from Tai Muli and Mutsun's reaction, Wu Yoming's whereabouts are completely unknown. I think that Ling Wu should be looking for Wu Yuming alone. However, she definitely won't be able to find him. Then, Yun Zhenu said, Sect Master, should we send more people to search for Ling Wu's traces? We can send more people. However, don't have too much hope for her. Even our people can't find Wu Yuming, let alone Ling Wu alone. Yang Dingtian said. Yun Zhenu said. Yang Dingtian turned his gaze and looked at Yun Zhenu's extremely charming face. Yun Zhenu felt a little uncomfortable being stared at by him. She said angrily, If you continue to stare, I will really force you to marry me. Yang Dingtian stared at her small face, her gradually growing chin, her big eyes, and her delicate nose. There was simply no more charming oval face than this. Instantly, he couldn't help but laugh. Did anyone say that your face is purely the face of a vixen? It's not just my face. People have directly said that I'm a vixen. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to reach the heavens in one step and become your internal pet. Yun Zhenu said. Yang Dingtian said, Recently, Master Yun Kalen seems to have become at least 10 years younger. I don't even dare to admit it. Compared to his previous appearance, he's at least 10 times more beautiful. He's simply radiant and dazzling. After breaking through to the Grandmaster realm, the knot in his heart has been removed. Naturally, he'll become younger. Yun Zhenu said, Furthermore, he's already living together with my father openly. I reckon that Kuei Ning's mother is going to blame you. She won't. For City Lord Kuei Si to only have 2 women, it's already very impressive. Yang Dingtian said. Who can compare to you? Yun Junu rolled her eyes at Yang Dingtian and said, Sect Patriarch Dongfang only has one wife. Yang Dingtan pretended to cough awkwardly and said, I didn't notice it previously. After Master Yun Kalin turned into a great beauty, I realized that you do look rather similar to her. I'm her child. Of course, we look alike. Yun Junu said. Yang Dingtian's mind was in a mess. He had once thought that this Yun Junu was Dugu Fengwu. After checking, he realized that she wasn't. Immediately after, he thought that Huang Yu was Fengwu, but she wasn't either. Therefore, Yang Dingtian turned and looked at Yun Junu again. In the end, after Yun Kalin became a great master, she became 10 years younger and 10 times prettier. She became a charming great beauty. Yun Junu might be prettier than her, but the two of them looked very similar. Ordinary people would be able to recognize her with a single glance. Therefore, Yang Dingtian was completely confused. Furthermore, Wu Yuming had previously revealed that she wanted to use Yun Junu's identity to make an issue out of it. She was using Yun Junu to threaten Yang Dingtian. Therefore, during that period of time, Yang Dingtian brought her along with him every day. In the end, Wu Yuming didn't make a move on Yun Junu. Some time ago, Senior Dugu Shao was actually in the central capital. He might still be around now. Did he visit you again? Yang Dingtian asked. Yun Junu shook her head lightly. Do you know who your master is? Yang Dingtian asked. I heard that she's Queen Hai Xen of the Snake Men Empire. Yun Junu said. She's a half-saint. Why is your martial arts only at that level? Yang Dingtian said. I'm a martial honor. I'm only in my 20s. Yun Junu said, however, Master doesn't put in much effort in teaching me martial arts. She doesn't spend much time in the valley. Most of the time, she's outside. I'm always alone at home. Yang Dingtian said, Junu, tell me honestly. You might be her? Sister Fengwu? Yun Junu said, I don't know and I don't care. I think my master is the only one who knows about this. Yang Dingtian rubbed his forehead and said, all right, let's not talk about this. Right, how's the negotiation going? The first failed, the second failed, and the third negotiation is still far away. Yun Junu said, it seems that because the Vulture Palace and the Netherworld Sea are watching from the front, the Central Continent's factions are becoming more fearless. Alright, the more fearless they are, the better. Yang Dingtian said, then what about Wulingzi from the Vulture Palace? Why hasn't he reacted? That shouldn't be the case. My letter should have completely infuriated him. Who knows? Maybe he wasn't at home when he received the letter. Yun Junu said. At this moment, Zhu Hongshue's voice came from outside. Sect leader, there's a change in the South Central Continent. The Black Vulture Army is forming up in the sky. They might invade the Central Continent. Yang Dingtian was overjoyed. How many? I don't know, but it shouldn't be the whole army. Zhu Hongxue said. Good. Yang Dingtian said happily, Wulingzi is indeed interesting. Has our secret weapon been prepared? Yun Junu said, we have already created 700 Phoenix-grade mini crystal bullets. These Phoenix-grade bullets are made with special crystals. Also, we have created a few thousand fire-grade mini crystal bullets. These are normal crystals, their power and flying speed are much smaller. Other than that, we have already created 1,000 launchers. These weapons have all been equipped to the most elite Demon Vulture army. They can fight in the sky at any time. Good. Yang Dingtian laughed. Let Song Chunhua and Kuei Qing fight this battle. Yun Junu immediately drafted the order, and Yang Dingtian signed it. 15 minutes later, Song Chunhua and Kuei Qing received the order. They immediately rode on the Demon Vulture army and led 1,000 elite Demon Vulture army into the sky. This Demon Vulture army was made up of experts. On every Demon Vulture, there was a small crystal crossbow and a launcher. There were over 100 arrows and 10 mini crystal bullets. The bloody black gold was a special crystal. Originally, it could only be ignited with Xian flame or gunpowder explosion to ignite the crystal. The trembling sound of the huge energy could cause the special crystal to explode. But it could not be ignited with Xian flame every time it was fired. Very quickly, the warlocks solved this problem. They just needed to reach the same temperature as Xian flame. Then how could they reach such high temperature? Very simple. Use the Xian flame to melt the bloody black gold into molten iron and store it in the energy field crystal box. The shockingly high-temperature bloody black gold liquid would float in the energy field and the heat loss would be very slow. When needed, open the box and ignite the energy field crystal. However, this was still very troublesome. The warlocks were currently researching how to solve this problem from the energy field of the crystal. Just in case, Song Chunhua still put on the magic fire demon phoenix. It was already more than 2 meters in size. With an order, this 1,000 demon vulture army equipped with secret weapon rose into the sky and flew towards the southern middle continent. And the southern middle continent's 30,000 demon vulture army covered the sky and whistled north. This time, not only did they want to win, but they also wanted a magnificent victory. They wanted to beat Wolingzi into submission. At the same time, Ling Wu had already arrived at the southern middle continent. She steered a small crystal boat and went south to sea to look for Wu Yuming. Chapter 717. The 30,000 Black Vulture army didn't look as amazing as the 100,000 before, but they still covered the sky and the sun as they flew across the vast sea. At this time, the leaders of the central continent were having a secret meeting. When they heard that the Black Vulture army had invaded the central continent again, they immediately congratulated each other. Well, the most difficult time is over. Now Yang Dingtian and the Vulture Palace are fighting. Good fight, now we're safe. Nangong Langya said loudly. Does that mean that Yang Dingtian will make a big concession in the negotiation? A leader of the central continent laughed. Negotiation? No, let's not talk about it. Nangong Langya said, the Vulture Palace and Yang Dingtian are fighting. It's hard to say who will win. Let's wait and see first. Maybe in the future, Yang Dingtian will take the initiative to come to us. Then, another voice whispered, maybe the Vulture Palace can do what Wu Yuming can't. So, not only do we not have to talk, but we can also take over the entire central continent. That's right. It's best if Yang Dingtian is defeated and retreats to the west continent, so that we can take over the entire central continent. What do you mean we can take over the entire central continent? The central continent was originally ours. Who does Yang Dingtian think he is? What right does he have to take over the place? Go back to where you came from. Who do you think will win this aerial battle? Of course Yang Dingtian will be defeated. At present, the Black Vulture army is unbeatable. Even if Yang Dingtian sacrificed all the Demon Vulture army, he could only kill 10,000 Black Vulture army at most. And the Vulture Palace has more than 100,000 Black Vultures in the South Central Continent. So, Yang Dingtian will definitely lose this aerial battle. It's very likely that his army will be wiped out. In this way, the Council of Light will be disgraced. That's right, that's why we have to destroy their spirit. Otherwise, after Yang Dingtian defeats Wu Yuming in the duel, the Council of Light will instantly assume that they are number one in the world, and those who obey them will prosper, and those who oppose them will perish. At this time, the Black Vulture Corps was not stopped. They rushed directly into the central continent for a full 500 miles before they encountered the special forces of the Demon Vulture Corps who came to intercept them. Ling Chuzi and the other experts of the Vulture Palace couldn't help but sneer when they saw that there were only 1,000 Demon Vulture army soldiers led by Song Chunhua and Kuei Qing. Was Yang Dingtian crazy? He had 1,000 Demon Vultures block 30,000 Black Vultures and had Song Chunhua take command. Of course, with that being the case, Ling Chuzi would definitely not use his martial abilities. As such, he would naturally not attack Song Chunhua. Furthermore, the experts of the Council of Light were currently 100 miles away from the army. If Ling Chuzi were to use his martial arts, the experts of the Council of Light would instantly appear. Rush up and tear apart the Demon Vulture Corps in front. Ling Chuzi ordered lightly. Suddenly, 30,000 Black Vultures whizzed out in a dark mass, wanting to completely crush the 1,000 Demon Vulture Corps. At this time, the Demon Vulture Corps in front of them formed a long array in the air. There were a total of 5 rows, with 200 Demon Vultures in each row. From top to bottom, they formed a square formation to meet the Black Vulture Corps. 30,000 black vultures neatly formed a three-dimensional formation in the air and flew fiercely. They still blotted out the sky and the sun, and it was still a one-sided scene. The dukes of the central continent who came to watch the battle were extremely excited. They almost shouted in a low voice, "Kill the demon vulture corps! Kill the demon vulture corps! Let Yang Dingtian's demon vulture corps be completely annihilated. Let the Council of Light have no air force to use." The 30,000 black vulture corps were getting closer and closer. 100 miles. 50 miles. 30 miles. 25 miles. However, the demon vulture corps did not move. Whether it was the black vulture corps or the central continent forces who were secretly watching the battle on the ground, they couldn't help but be shocked. Was the demon vulture corps still seeking death this time? When the distance was still 20 miles. The warriors of the demon vulture corps suddenly carried a long iron tube with a diameter of 5 kilograms on their shoulders. A demon vulture warrior behind them took out a small crystal missile of about 200 kilograms from a big box. There was a faint phoenix painted on it, indicating that this was a special phoenix missile. Of course, this time there were only more than 700 of them. One was not enough for each person. Therefore, among the 1,000 demon vulture corps, there were only 200 Phoenix-level missiles in the first wave of attack. The rest were all ordinary fire-level crystal missiles. The warriors behind loaded the missiles into the launchers one after another. "Everyone aim!" Song Chunhua ordered loudly. Instantly, the 1,000 warriors all aimed at the black mass of the Black Vulture army that was coming at them. Seeing these iron tubes, everyone was stunned. Not only Ling Chuzi, but also the people watching the battle on the ground. Was the Council of Light crazy? They actually used iron tubes to fight. Were they looking for death? At this time, they still didn't use the small crystal crossbows. At this time, the Black Vulture Corps was getting closer and closer, and it began to form a semicircular formation to surround the 1,000 Demon Vulture Corps. The secret weapon of the Council of Light was only met with harsh ridicule at the first moment. Even the warriors of the Black Vulture Corps were extremely disdainful. The Black Vulture Corps was 10 miles away. 9 miles. 8 miles. "Ignite fire!" Song Chunhua ordered. Suddenly, the Demon Vulture warrior behind carefully took out a small energy box. Inside it floated the bright red liquid bloody black gold. The temperature here was tens of thousands of degrees, or even higher. Then, the liquid bloody black gold directly ignited the crystal power array at the tail of the missile. Suddenly, whoosh 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 whoosh, 1,000 missiles whistled out in an instant, dragging a long tail, like a meteor. And 200 of them were extremely fast. That's right, the speed of this small missile was faster and more astonishing than the large missile. The previous large missiles needed to fly too far, so they didn't dare to burn too many special crystals per unit of time. So in terms of speed, they could only take a balance value. But now, these small missiles only needed to fly a few dozen miles. Therefore, the warlocks increased the crystal power per unit of time, so the flying speed was astonishingly fast. The initial speed could reach tens of meters per second, and the highest speed in the middle could even reach more than twice the speed of sound. In short, these small crystal-powered missiles were much more outstanding than the large missiles in terms of speed. The rocket projectiles on Earth could also reach a very shocking speed. Whoosh 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 whoosh. In everyone's astonished eyes, these 200 missiles were getting faster and faster, faster and faster. In a short 6 or 7 miles, only a distance of 3,000 meters, it was only 10 seconds. "Destroy these things," Ling Chuzi suddenly ordered. But it was too late. Not every Black Vulture warrior was an expert who could slash out sword light. These small crystal missiles, at more than twice the speed of sound, fiercely plunged into the Black Vulture Corps. Puff puff puff. The first casualty was not the explosion, but these missiles, which directly penetrated the body of the Black Vulture Corps, directly tearing the Black Vulture Corps, which was as hard as iron, in half. Then, it suddenly exploded. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, nearly 200 Phoenix-level small crystal missiles violently exploded. At every moment, the small missiles almost burst out a huge fireball with a diameter of hundreds of meters. In an instant, the entire sky was swallowed by countless flame giant flowers, completely dyeing the entire sky red. Among these missiles, there were only about 100 kilograms of high explosives, about 5 kilograms of ordinary fire crystals, and 3 grams of blood-black gold accompanying crystals. The power could only blow up a house that covered an area of 2 or 3 acres. However, it was enough, and it was already very amazing. Because at this time, the Black Vulture Core was very crowded in order to completely destroy the Demon Vulture Core. Although this kind of missile was called a small missile, it was also a large rocket on Earth, and because of the existence of special crystals, its power was even more amazing. Boom, 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 boom. Within a large circle of 30 meters of each explosion, all the black vultures were directly burned into charcoal by the terrible high temperature and then shattered into pieces. The black vultures within 50 meters instantly exploded on their backs, completely dying tragically. And the black vultures within 100 meters, although not dead, were also seriously injured. Suddenly, the sky seemed to rain black vultures. Countless charcoal, countless minced meat, and countless black vulture corpses fell one after another. Everyone had no time to be shocked. The second wave of missiles came again. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. This time, there were as many as 800 small crystal bullets. The flying speed was only about a quarter of the previous Phoenix-level missiles. The power of the explosion was less than a third. However, the previous round of explosions caused the entire Black Vulture Core to be in chaos, and there was no time to intercept this new wave of attacks. Suddenly, of the 800 ordinary crystal missiles, more than 700 of them fiercely smashed into the Black Vulture Core like a metal rainstorm. Boom, 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 boom. There was another earth-shattering explosion. The flames of these ordinary crystal missiles were not much smaller than the Phoenix-level crystal missiles, so the scene was still earth-shattering. Countless black vultures were once again swallowed by the flames, and the scene was extremely shocking. But in fact, the casualties caused by these 800 missiles were less than half of the previous 200 Phoenix-level missiles. The power of the explosion was less than a third, but it did not mean that the lethality was less than a third. Therefore, the second wave of missiles, except for the center of the explosion that would directly kill the black vultures, could only injure them, but could not kill them. This was the difference between Phoenix-level missiles and ordinary missiles. The bloody black gold-associated crystal was so powerful. Even the Phoenix-level missiles just now all successfully reached their targets and detonated. As for the ordinary missiles, there were still more than a dozen of them that directly lost their direction in the air. They either flew in other directions or directly fell to the ground. When the power of the crystal was exhausted, it exploded violently. The first wave of attacks had left Ling Chuzi and the experts of the Spirit Vulture Palace completely dumbfounded. The neat formation of the Black Vulture Core was suddenly in disorder as if it had been cheated alive. There was a missing piece here and there. Ling Chuzi looked at everything in disbelief. The spectators also looked at everything in disbelief. How many black vultures had been killed in the first wave of attacks of the Demon Vulture Core's secret weapon? No one knew. No one knew now. But when the demon vultures' corpses fell just now, it was really more mysterious than raindrops. The results of this wave of attacks alone were much greater than the last time when the 2000 Demon Vulture Core fought for a quarter of an hour. At least, this first wave of attacks directly killed and seriously injured thousands of black vultures. Before Ling Chuzi could react, the second wave of attacks of the Demon Vulture Core came. This time, 500 Phoenix-level missiles and 500 ordinary fire-level missiles whizzed over in an instant. A gorgeous light streaked across the sky. At this time, no one dared to laugh. They only felt that these flames were completely emitting the aura of death. Ling Chuzi immediately roared, "Disperse, disperse, army, disperse." That's right. Such a dense formation was useful before, but now it was completely courting death. Moreover, it was foreseeable that from now on, the Vulture Palace would not dare to let the Black Vulture Core form such a dense formation. Immediately, the Black Vulture Core immediately changed their formation and dispersed. But in panic, not only did they not disperse, but they crowded together in groups. However, the Phoenix-level missiles that were more than twice the speed of sound wouldn't wait for them. In an instant, 500 Phoenix-level missiles fiercely plunged into the Black Vulture core. Because the Black Vulture core was too secretive, nearly 70% of the missiles hit directly. The remaining 30% just flew faster and faster, whizzing over. Some still crashed into the Black Vultures behind them, while others flew further and further away. Boom, 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 another earth-shattering explosion occurred. Then, the Black Vultures in the sky fell like a rainstorm. This time, no one knew how many of them died. Before they had time to be shocked, the 500 ordinary small crystal missiles behind came like a storm. However, the hit rate of this wave of ordinary missiles instantly dropped to 50%. But still, it caused another earth-shattering explosion. The spectators found that the extremely fast missile in front was so fast that it made people tremble. After flying dozens of miles away, it directly exploded in the air. In other words, this thing could fly dozens of miles away at such a fast speed. How amazing was that? In the last wave, no less than 200 ordinary crystal missiles did not hit the target. After flying dozens of miles away, they suddenly exploded. Looking at the Black Vulture core again, less than half of them were intact. The remaining Black Vulture core, which was less than half intact, immediately scattered and desperately scattered. They did not dare to gather together again. If they gathered together, they would be the living targets of the terrible missiles. At this time, Song Chunhua ordered 10 Black Vultures, change to small and medium-sized crystal crossbows. Hunt freely. After hearing the order, the 1,000 Demon Vulture Corps immediately changed their formation. 10 in a group, a total of 100 groups. Each group formed a sharp knife-killing formation, sandwiching small and medium-sized crystal crossbows. Originally, small crystal crossbows were used. Later, they found that the demon vultures were large and heavy. They could use small and medium-sized crossbows, which were more lethal to the Black Vultures. Moreover, they could directly fix the small and medium-sized crystal crossbows to the north of the Black Vultures. At this time, the remaining 10,000 or so intact Black Vultures desperately scattered in private. Because there was no complete order, it was difficult to form a complete battle formation. Behind them, 100 hunting squads whistled as they approached. Therefore, an extremely absurd scene appeared. 1,000 demon vultures were crazily chasing after more than 10,000 Black Vultures. Moreover, the demon vultures flew faster. As long as the distance was within 2 miles, the small and medium-sized crystal crossbows on the back of the demon vultures would shoot wildly. Because of the change to small and medium-sized crystal crossbows, the shooting power was instantly 7 or 8 times stronger. Furthermore, instead of shooting 1 arrow each time, he would shoot 3 long sharp arrows at a time. Whoosh 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 whoosh. In an instant, large crossbow arrows 2 meters long were shot out like a rainstorm. The crossbow arrows were not as precious as the small crystal missiles. It did not matter how much they were used. Therefore, as long as there was a chance, the demon vulture warriors would shoot wildly. After increasing the crystal crossbows, the power of the crossbow arrows also doubled instantly. Once shot from the back, they would basically be inserted 3 or 4 feet into the Black Vulture's body. Even if they did not die, they would be greatly injured. Therefore, the Black Vulture Corps, which had lost its organization, was like a plate of loose sand. They were crazily hunted by the Demon Vulture Corps, which only had 1/10 of their numbers. Whoosh 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 whoosh, countless crossbow arrows sprayed out like a rainstorm. The Black Vultures were not as fast as the Demon Vultures, so it was difficult for them to escape the pursuit. In an instant, the Black Vulture Corps in the sky rapidly decreased. Once again, the Black Vultures rained down. Countless Black Vulture corpses and secret manuals smashed to the ground. Ling Chuzi looked at this shocking scene. At this time, the number of Black Vultures in the sky was decreasing. There were only a few thousand left. At this time, even if they fought face to face with swords, they were no match for the Demon Vulture Corps. Therefore, no matter how unwilling Ling Chuzi was, he could only shout, "Retreat, retreat." Suddenly, The surviving black vulture warriors in the sky were so excited that they almost burst into tears. The black vultures were not afraid of death, but they were. Immediately, they controlled the almost crazy black vultures to flee in the direction of the South Middle Continent. Continue to chase and destroy the enemy, Song Chunhua ordered. Then, 100 groups of demon vulture hunting teams chased at full speed. The experts of the Council of Light rode on the black vultures and chased closely. Although the Vulture Palace would not break the rules and use martial arts, they still had to be on guard. The Great Middle Continent was thousands of miles away from the South Middle Continent. 1,000 demon vulture corps chased crazily for thousands of miles. Along the way, the black vulture corps fled desperately. However, they were not fast enough. Moreover, the demon vulture corps used long-range attacks. Not only did they have no power to fight back, they could not escape the pursuit at all. The experts of the Vulture Palace were mad with anger. They almost could not help but use martial arts to kill the hateful demon vulture corps behind them. However, if they dared to do so, the experts of the Council of Light behind them would not mind using martial arts to kill them all. Just like this, Ling Chuzi and the other experts suddenly realized that the demon vulture corps behind them did not continue to pursue. Then, he realized that the black vulture corps had been completely annihilated. Only he and dozens of Vulture Palace experts were left. After half a day of fighting, the 30,000 black vulture corps were completely annihilated. Chapter 7:18. After the experts of the Vulture Palace fled to the South Central Continent, there was no response. Because Ling Chuzi had no authority, he had to report the news to the Vulture Palace and wait for Wolingzi's next order. When Wolingzi heard that the 30,000 Black Vulture army was wiped out by a mere 1,000 Devil Vulture army, he was completely stunned. He didn't dare to believe it. How was this possible? How was this possible? Why was the Vulture Palace so domineering and arrogant? Wasn't it because the Black Vulture army was invincible? For the past 200 years, the number one strategic formation of the Vulture Palace was the Black Vultures, Black Vultures, Black Vultures. They used all their strength and all the barbarians and beasts in the South Barbarian continent to feed the Black Vultures. Therefore, in 200 years, the Black Vulture army had increased from 20,000 to 200,000. These 200,000 Black Vultures gave Wolingzi great confidence. He even felt that even when Tion's Legion of Doom wouldn't be able to break into his Vulture Palace. Last time, the 2,000 Devil Vultures fought against the Black Vulture army and a few thousand of them died. Wolingzi did not care at all, because the Demon Vulture Legion had also lost more than 500, and a few hundred were injured. This kind of casualty ratio was completely within his expectations. The Devil Vulture army only had 4,000 Black Vultures and 200,000 Black Vultures. Even if the Devil Vulture army was wiped out, the Black Vulture's casualties wouldn't exceed 20,000. It was a drop in the ocean. But this time, 1,000 Devil Vulture army actually wiped out 30,000 Black Vultures. This was too shocking. Impossible, impossible, impossible. Wolingzi said impossible more than 10 times before he calmed down. Then how many casualties did the Devil Vulture army have? Wolingzi asked. The Vulture Palace expert stammered. It seems like 0. What? Wolingzi hissed. Are you talking in your sleep? Last time, he killed a few thousand of my Black Vultures and also lost 1,000. Now, there are no casualties? Are you dreaming? The Vulture Palace expert said, There really are no casualties. The Devil Vulture army used a new secret weapon and killed countless of our Black Vultures from a few miles away. We couldn't even get close. Wolingzi asked in shock, Secret weapon? The Vulture Spirit Palace expert said, It's a type of metal tube that shoots out a type of metal bullet. 100 kilograms of iron vultures, it flew very quickly, several times faster than the vultures, and Iron Vulture is. And Vulture. One of these metal bullets is enough to kill a dozen of our Black Vultures. Wolingzi instantly thought of the terrifying things that were shot into the Spirit Vulture Palace 10 days ago. Especially the last one, which caused the ground within a radius of several dozen miles to collapse by several tens of feet. This powers Vulture. Who would have thought that this thing could be shrunk and shot out from the demon vulture's body? It could even be used against the Black Vulture army. Suddenly, Wu Lingzi felt somewhat disheartened. He sighed and said, "The times have changed, the times have changed." The Vulture Palace expert said, "Ancestor, how should we respond? Should we gather all the Black Vulture army and rush into Zhongjing to kill? Are you going to kill all my Black Vultures?" Wu Lingzi said coldly, "Ancestor, it's not impossible to deal with the Council of Light's iron barrel missile. Disperse the Black Vulture army and it won't hit. That thing's accuracy is very low." The Vulture Palace expert said, "Moreover, I believe that this thing must be very precious. The Council of Light doesn't have many of them. We don't need to be scared." Wu Lingzi hesitated for a moment and shook his head. "Forget it, let's hold back for now. Send a letter to Zhongjing and ask Yang Dingtian to come to Vulture Palace personally to apologize. Then we'll let this matter go." The Vulture Palace expert said, "That's it? That's it? What, do I need you to teach me how to do things?" Wu Lingzi said coldly, "I don't dare," the Vulture Palace expert said. "I'll send a letter to Yang Dingtian and ask him to come to Vulture Palace to apologize." Just like that, Wu Lingzi planned to turn this matter into a small one and a small one into nothing. Wu Lingzi wanted to let this matter go, but Yang Dingtian didn't agree. It was obvious that he didn't intend to give up. Qin Wanshou had already entered the south-central region before the letter asking Yang Dingtian to apologize had even reached the central region. He didn't say a word and directly handed a letter of challenge to Ling Chuzi. Then he turned and left. That's right, it was a letter of challenge, a real letter of challenge. Seeing this letter of challenge, Ling Chuzi didn't open it. He felt as if his hand had been stung. He and all the Vulture Palace experts were stunned. What did Yang Dingtian mean by this? Was he crazy? Was he really going to declare war on Vulture Palace? Wu Lingzi had already planned to turn this matter into a small one and find a way out. However, Yang Dingtian didn't let this matter go and actually issued a letter of challenge. Was he really going to start a war? Ling Chuzi didn't read this letter of challenge and directly sent someone to deliver it to Vulture Palace. A few hours later, this letter of challenge appeared in Wu Lingzi's hands. Yang Dingtian's letter of challenge to Vulture Palace was written as follows: "Wu Lingzi, you old bastard, not only did you not come to Zhongjing to apologize, you even sent 30,000 Black Vulture troops to despicably ambush the Council of Light. Such a deranged behavior is unforgivable." Here, the Council of Light officially declares war on Vulture Palace, swearing to erase Vulture Palace from this world, completely liberate the southern barbarian continent, and completely save the savages of the southern barbarian continent from hell. Clap, 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 clap. These rude words were like slaps to Wu Lingzi's old face. In particular, the sentence, "erase Vulture Palace from this world," completely stabbed Wu Lingzi. Overturn the heavens, overturn the heavens. Yang Ding, your crimes are unforgivable, unforgivable. Tear you to pieces, I will definitely tear you to pieces. Having just lost 30,000 Black Vulture troops, Wu Lingzi was about to grit his teeth and swallow it, not wanting to bicker with Yang Dingtian. Instead, Yang Dingtian was relentless and even said that he would erase Vulture Palace. This was simply trampling on the dignity of Vulture Palace. This was simply trembling. Wu Lingzi said sternly, "Fine, let's start the war. Send out all the Black Vulture troops, all of them. Today, I will have a life-and-death battle with Yang Dingtian." After Wu Lingzi gave the order with great anger, the 80,000 Black Vulture troops in the Vulture Palace rushed out of the southern barbarian continent and whistled directly to the middle continent. This was the first time in hundreds of years, that all 200,000 Black Vulture troops left the Vulture Palace and the southern barbarian continent. Countless people saw this scene and saw the Black Vulture troops that blotted out the sky and the sun enter the middle continent. This scene seemed to have given the leaders of the middle continent a shot in the arm. The scene of the 30,000 Black Vulture troops being wiped out the day before scared them out of their wits. They were in a constant state of anxiety. After returning, they took the initiative to go to the North Mansion and grovel to ask for the third negotiation. However, the 200,000 Black Vulture troops of the Vulture Palace came out in full force, which instantly made them extremely excited. Their judgment was the same as that of the Vulture Palace. The Council of Light did not have many of those small missiles. Perhaps they had already been used up yesterday. Moreover, after the event, they also judged that the iron cylinder missile had a big flaw. That was, its accuracy was not good enough. In the last wave of attack in yesterday's battle, 50% of them missed their targets. Therefore, as long as the Black Vulture troops were scattered, the lethality of this missile would be greatly reduced. Therefore, the leaders of the Middle Continent began to celebrate again. Therefore, after the negotiation started in the evening, the leaders of the Middle Continent changed their humble attitude from yesterday to smiling poker faces. Dongfang Minmi still put forward the 3 conditions. Then, the leaders of the Middle Continent refused without hesitation. Therefore, Dongfang Minmi sneered and said, "Everyone, yesterday you begged and pleaded for the 3rd negotiation to be restarted. As a result, when the negotiation started today, you were disinterested and indifferent. You didn't even show any sincerity in the negotiation. Why do you have to be so respectful?" The leaders of the Middle Continent just smiled faintly and did not respond. Then, the 3rd negotiation, which had just started, parted on bad terms before it started. After the 80,000 Black Vultures entered the South Middle Continent again, there were 200,000 Black Vulture troops. Moreover, the people of the Vulture Palace began to move frequently and took the initiative to contact the forces of the Middle Continent. 200,000 Black Vultures began to organize and line up, ready to launch a fatal blow to Zhongjing at any time. Suddenly, everyone's eyes were fixed on the North Mansion of Zhongjing. The words of the leaders of the Middle Continent became more and more unbearable. "He's exposed, isn't he? Yang Dingtian is acting like a coward. What do you mean by it's tough on the outside but weak on the inside? This is tough on the outside but weak on the inside." Yang Dingtian took the initiative to issue a challenge. As a result, 200,000 Black Vulture troops came, and he is a coward again. Yes, he has been seen through. Whatever secret weapon, it has all been used up. Yang Dingtian is at his wit's end. It's hard to escape, it's definitely hard to escape. Of course, the leaders of Zhongzhou State were not such shallow people. They were all eloquent. They were encouraging themselves and provoking Yang Dingtian at the same time. They hoped that the Council of Light would really go to war with the Vulture Palace, and they would reap the benefits without doing anything. Soon, the Council of Light responded, and it was an earth-shattering response. Nearly 1 million troops in the North Middle Continent crossed the sea directly to the south. The West Continent Army, which had been on standby at sea for several days, was about to turn around. Thousands of warships and nearly 2 million troops headed east at full speed directly into the Middle Continent. What was more critical was that the fleet of the Ingzhou Empire that had ambushed the spiritual Vulture Palace with super missiles was marching south ferociously again to the west of the spiritual Vulture Palace. That wasn't all. With the Yin-Yang sect as the leader, the East Continent's factions had been inspired by Yang Dingtian's great victory. The atmosphere of surrendering was instantly swept away. Immediately, the Radiance Parliament's factions had an overwhelming advantage. Under the orders of the Council of Light, the East Continent Army also began to gather their troops and martial arts forces, preparing to head west. Not only that, most of the Southwest Fleet was blockading the Netherworld Sea. Even so, they still managed to gather an army of a few 100,000. They boarded the newest warships and charged over from the west. Everyone was shocked by Yang Dingtian's generosity. 5 armies were attacking the South Middle Continent and the Vulture Palace from the east, west, and north. Tens of thousands of warships and more than 4 million troops were mobilized. From the looks of it, they were going to completely occupy the entire South Barbarian continent and wipe the Vulture Palace off the face of the earth. They were really going to wipe the Vulture Palace off the face of the earth, just like what was written in the letter of challenge. At this time, Ling Chuzi had a feeling that the 30,000 black vultures entering Zhongjing was like poking a hornet's nest. Then, countless hornets came in a frenzy, blotting out the sky and covering the earth. Yes, the 200,000 black vulture troops entered the South Middle Continent, but without Walingzi's order, they could not move. In the past few days, information about the Council of Light's army had been sent to the Vulture Palace one by one. However, Wu Lingzi, who was in the Vulture Palace, did not respond. Ling Chuzi immediately complained in his heart, "If you want to fight, fight now." It was the best time to strike while the Council of Light was still on the way. In the end, you didn't fight, nor did you retreat. The 200,000 black vultures were here to scare people. Moreover, so what if the Council of Light had millions of troops? They could do nothing against the black vulture troops in the sky. Wu Lingzi had the same thoughts as well. Even though he had also felt the monstrous pressure and was indeed intimidated by Yang Dingtian's army that had split into 5 groups, he wasn't too afraid. Because these troops were not a big threat to the black vulture troops. These troops could not enter the Vulture Palace. However, the next piece of information really scared the crap out of the Spirit Vulture Palace. Because thousands of huge missiles were continuously transported from the West Continent. Each missile was bigger than the ones that attacked the Vulture Palace. That was not all. The next 3,000 demon vulture troops were all equipped with iron barrels of missiles. Not only that, but there were also thousands of Golden Eagle troops and tens of thousands of other elite winged cavalry. They were all equipped. Each winged cavalry carried an iron barrel and 10 missiles when they went north. There was also a small crystal crossbow and countless crossbow bolts. Tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of small crystal missiles were transported to the Zhongzhou state one after another like a mountain. All of a sudden, the people of the Zhongzhou state were almost scared to death. This was too fucking crazy. Previously, 1,000 demon vulture troops used this secret weapon to kill 30,000 black vulture troops. Now, the Council of Light had madly piled up tens of thousands of launchers and transported hundreds of thousands of small crystal missiles. Not to mention 200,000 Black Vulture Legion, even 500,000 Black Vulture Legion would be wiped out. Moreover, there were many rumors circulating in the Zhongzhou state. For example, Queen Hisense of the Snakeman Empire was Yun Junu's foster mother and master. Another rumor was that Queen Hai Xen was actually one of Yang Dingtian's lovers. And in the Snakeman Empire, there were no less than 20 great grandmasters. Some people sneakily said that Dugu Shao of the Temple of Blood had been in the Zhongzhou state recently. There was also news that Zhu Qingzhu was currently trying his best to return to the Zhongzhou state. Of course, the giant missiles and the small crystal missiles were all models. Where could the Council of Light find these crystals? The real missiles had been used up long ago. Bad news came one after another. Every one of them made people tremble with fear. Wu Lingzi's whole body was cold. He had been hiding in the thatched hut and would not come out. Yang Dingtian is not only going to destroy the Vulture Palace. He is also going to kill me. Chapter 719. He had planned this all along. After defeating Wu Yuming, he was ready to destroy the spiritual Vulture Palace. Lass, do you think Yang Dingtian is serious this time, or is he faking it? Wu Lingzi asked. Vulture shook his head and said, I don't know. I have already lost my ability to judge him. Then do you think he has the ability to destroy the Vulture Palace? Wu Lingzi asked, the thousands of large missiles he showed, are they real? And the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of small crystal bombs, are they real? I don't know either. Vulture shook his head and said, but I know that he still has a trump card that he hasn't used yet. What is it? Wu Lingzi asked. Do you still remember the blood pool in front of Cloud Sky City? The blood pool that can corrode everything is spreading rapidly. In just a few days, it has engulfed hundreds of miles of land. Soon, it will engulf the entire Cloud Sky City. Vulture said, this is called a biochemical weapon in Cloud Sky City. Yang Dingtian used it to instantly kill Ning Wuming's 30,000 blood pupil demonic army. It was also at that time that Ning Wuming lost his army and his waist was broken. He could only rely on Zhu Qingzhu and Wu Yuming. Biochemical weapon? Wu Lingzi said, that's the poison that Wu Yuming thought of and Zhu Qingzhu wanted. If it is allowed to spread, it will be able to engulf the entire northwest continent. Vulture said, other than dealing with Ning Wuming and Qin Chi Chi, Yang Dingtian has never used this kind of biochemical weapon. Wu Yuming and I once speculated that it might be a variant of the deep-sea Shen poison. Deep-sea Shen poison? Something from Naga? Wu Lingzi suddenly said in shock. Then why didn't Yang Dingtian use it? If he used this kind of weapon, wouldn't it be easier to destroy Zhu Qingzhu's army? Wouldn't it be easier to destroy the Black Vulture army with this so-called biological weapon? I've speculated that a single shot of such a poisonous crystal arrow would be enough to turn a black vulture into a puddle of pus, Vulture said. Wu Lingzi said, is the reason why Yang Dingtian doesn't use this deadly biological weapon because it's too vicious, so he only uses it on evil ways? As for Zhu Qingzhu, he saw it as a civil war between the Tiando League. He even views my Vulture Palace as a civil war within the Tiando League. Is that why he doesn't want to use such a vicious weapon to exterminate us? Vulture said, I've thought about it for a long time, and it should be like this. Just like how Yang Dingtian subdued Song Shao and Qin Huayu before, maybe he also wants to subdue our Black Vulture army and make it the main force in the future Doomsday War. In his dreams, Wu Lingzi sneered and said, the enmity between him and me is irreconcilable. I can't wait to tear him into pieces. It's pure daydreaming if he wants to use the Black Vulture army. Vulture said, but if we force him into a corner, he will really exterminate our Black Vulture army. Because only by destroying our Black Vulture army can he rest assured to reorganize Zhongzhou state. Wu Lingzi suddenly fell into silence. After a long time, he asked, Girl, what do you think is the reason for my fight with Yang Dingtian? Vulture thought for a while and said, anger face. In fact, our Vulture Palace and him are indeed life and death enemies. However, it isn't in the military. Instead, it is in the life and death situation between you and Yang Dingtian. So our key is to kill Yang Dingtian, not to destroy his army. Wu Lingzi nodded hard and said, yes, our purpose is to kill Yang Dingtian. As for how many troops we destroy and how much territory we occupy, it doesn't mean anything to us. If we really defeat Yang Dingtian's army, it will only benefit those bastards in Zhongzhou state who are watching the show. Now, Wu Yuming doesn't even know whether she's dead or alive. Why should I fight Yang Dingtian with all my might? Yes, for us, the key is to kill Yang Dingtian. The army of the Council of Light has nothing to do with us. Even if we destroy 1 million or 10 million of them, it doesn't mean much, Vulture said. All right. Little girl, you can be considered to have some friendship with him. Go and talk to him. Both sides should stop fighting. Wu Lingzi said. Vulture said, I don't want to go. This time you have to go. Wu Lingzi said, because only you and he are friends. If necessary, you can use some tricks. Vulture's expression changed. Are you saying that I can use a honey trap? I didn't say that. I just said that you can act at your discretion until the goal of stopping the war is achieved, Wu Lingzi said. Vulture gritted his teeth and said, I'll go. Yang Dingtian's 5 armies, a total of 4 million, were still approaching Zhongzhou state and Nanbarbarian state from the sea and land. Suddenly, the entire chaotic world was like a storm that was about to come. Everyone held their breaths, waiting for the outbreak of the war. What was more strange was that Netherworld Sea was completely silent about everything in front of them. They did not express any attitude. But they were still in Zhongjing South Prefecture and did not retreat. One day later, Vulture rode a black vulture and entered Zhongjing, asking to see Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian, I know that your plan to deal with the Vulture Palace is fake. Your real plan is to reorganize Zhongzhou state. Vulture said slowly, in front of a smart person, there is no need to lie. Keep the South Prefecture, release my mother, divide Zhongzhou state, and we can stop the war. Yang Dingtian looked at Vulture in shock. After a long time, he said, is your brain damaged? After destroying the Black Vulture army, I can deal with Zhongzhou state at any time. If not to destroy your Black Vulture army, why would I transport so many small crystal missiles? Vulture said, who knows if your crystal missiles are real or just empty shells? In a fit of anger, Spirit Vulture revealed the truth. Yang Dingtian lowered his head and said, Servant June, send Miss Vulture out. Then he directly refused to negotiate. Servant Yun stepped forward and chased Vulture out with a rude attitude. Vulture was furious and said coldly, "Servant Yunjun, what right do you have to talk to me like that? Don't forget that I am the mistress of the South Prefecture, and you are just a servant." Servant Yunjun looked at Vulture and sneered, "Don't you read the newspaper? Your husband has become one of the young masters of the evil ways, and he is notorious. If you don't draw a line with him, we will arrest you at any time and execute you." "You dare?" Vulture said coldly, "Servant Yunjun, if you dare to talk to me like that, you will die on the street one day." "Servant Jun, slap her," Yang Dingtian ordered. "Slap." Servant Yunjun slapped her hard. Vulture wanted to dodge, but she was trapped by Yang Dingtian's energy and could not move. Suddenly, there was a crisp sound. Vulture's delicate face was swollen and her delicate body was slapped away. Then she showed an extremely vicious look and was about to say something. "If you dare to threaten me, I will execute you immediately." Yang Dingtian said indifferently, "Don't forget that your old bastard is a half-saint, and so is Servant Yunjun's master." Suddenly, Vulture felt extremely humiliated and walked out angrily. After walking out, Vulture said loudly, "Yang Ding, your missiles are all a bluff. Don't think that I don't know. Let me tell you, if you don't agree to stop fighting today, it will be too late if you want to stop fighting in the future." Then, Vulture walked out angrily. "How many small crystal missiles have we produced in the past few days?" Yang Dingtian asked. Servant Yunjun said, "We have sent out 30,000 prospectors, and 4 of them have returned. They brought back a total of 47 kilograms of bloody black gold accompanying crystals. This is the result of 1.5 months ago. We have produced a total of 115 Phoenix-grade crystal missiles." Yang Dingtian said, "Use them all. Send a Demon Vulture squad to launch a sneak attack on the Black Vulture Legion's camp." Servant Yunjun said, "By the way, Madame Mo Weaver provided a kind of corpse poison to the warlock ancestor. She specially made 50 ghost-grade missiles. Do you want to use them?" Yang Dingtian knew that this corpse poison was far inferior to the deep-sea Xian poison, but it was refined from countless corpses. It was something left from Ning Wuming's era. When the Blood-Eye Demon Army was created, only 1 in 10 could become a Blood-Eye Demon Army. The rest would die miserably and be refined into corpse poison. This corpse poison would become nutrients for the Blood-Eye Demon Army. But for ordinary creatures, this corpse poison was a nightmare. Although they wouldn't die, but their bodies would gradually fester. Moreover, this thing was infectious. Use 10, and then seal all these corpse poison missiles. Don't make any more." Yang Dingtian said, "We will need this Black Vulture Legion in the future. We can't kill them all." Servant Yunjun said. Then she drafted an order and Yang Dingtian signed it. This sneak attack mission was directly handed over to Song Chunhua. After receiving the order, Song Chunhua immediately selected the most elite 100 Black Vultures. In the darkness, they rose to more than 10,000 meters. Under the cover of the night, they flew towards the south. At this time, they couldn't directly fly to the South Middle Continent. Otherwise, they would be easily discovered by the Black Vulture Legion's aerial patrol. One must know that in terms of flying altitude, the Black Vulture Legion was not much lower than the Demon Vulture Legion. At this time, there were at least 10,000 Black Vultures monitoring and patrolling the South Middle Continent. Therefore, they had to take a detour to avoid the patrolling Black Vultures and sneak attack from the back of the South Middle Continent. Not only that, they also had to send out the Demon Vulture King to carry out a feint attack. When necessary, it would attract the patrolling Black Vultures. The Demon Vulture King and the sneak attack team, one to the east and one to the west, took a detour of more than 10,000 miles and suddenly came to the south of the South Middle Continent. Then, Kuei Qing rode the Demon Vulture King and rushed into the South Middle Continent. After rushing for a few hundred miles, they were immediately discovered by the patrolling Black Vulture Cavalry. Then, countless patrolling Black Vulture Cavalry desperately blew the horn of the enemy attack. Suddenly, the patrolling Black Vultures within hundreds of miles and thousands of miles all frantically chased and intercepted. The Black Vulture Legion on the ground, as if facing a great enemy, rose into the air one after another. But soon, they found that there was only one Demon Vulture. However, This demon vulture's flying speed had reached an astonishing 4,000 miles per hour. It was more than 4 times the speed of the black vultures. They could not catch up at all. In this way, the demon vulture king led hundreds and thousands of black vultures in the air. Not to mention catching it, they could not even catch its shadow. Suddenly, the vulture palace was so angry that they cursed loudly. At this time, the black vulture sneak attack team led by Song Chunhua was lurking on the sea. The demon vulture king attracted all the patrolling black vultures within 1,000 miles, tormenting them in the air. After a full 4 hours, the vulture palace finally gave up. Besieging. In the black vulture camp, peace was restored. However, the patrolling order was completely disrupted and the patrol tasks needed to be reclassified. As a result, there was a temporary patrolling void and chaos in the sky above the entire black vulture camp. At this time, the sneak attack team led by Song Chunhua, like an arrow, suddenly rose into the sky. With the fastest speed, almost 1,000 miles per hour, they madly plunged into the interior of the south-central continent. The black vulture camp of the Vulture Palace spanned 100 miles and was 700 miles away from the southern sea. In less than an hour, the demon vulture sneak attack team arrived in the sky above the camp. Without any hesitation, they directly aimed at the camp on the ground. Ignite fire. In an instant, more than 100 Phoenix-level missiles and 5 zombie poison bombs whizzed down from the sky. Whoosh 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 whoosh, powered by crystals, coupled with the acceleration of gravity, the missiles shot down from a height of 10,000 meters reached a low altitude of 2,000 meters. Their speed was extremely astonishing, 3 or 4 times the speed of sound. At this time, the black vulture camp did not even talk about intercepting them. After seeing these missiles shot down, just as they shouted the enemy attack, the missiles had already entered 5,000 meters in the air. Then, the experts of the Vulture Palace ordered to activate the large crystal crossbows, but it was too late to shoot into the air. Because as long as they were wound, they would consume the energy of crystals, so they would not be wound until the war. Occasionally, large crystal crossbows would be wound at all times for anti-air defense, but at this time, it was completely impossible to shoot the missiles. Whoosh 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 whoosh, more than 100 missiles whizzed and smashed into the ground at a speed of 1,000 meters per second. Boom 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 boom, more than 100 missiles, like a rainstorm, attacked the black vulture camp more than 10 miles away. In an instant, 100 meters of flames burst out. The entire night sky was completely illuminated. Countless black vultures and black vulture warriors were instantly smashed to pieces. And several of the missiles, after the explosion, there was no fire, only green smoke in the sky. Then, no matter if it was a black vulture or a human, as long as they were touched by the green smoke, only the flesh on their body began to fester, which was extremely disgusting and terrifying. And the demon vulture sneak attack team led by Song Chunhua, after firing the missiles, did not even look at the results. They directly rose into the air and flew to the west. That's right, they flew to the west, not directly to the north. Because if they went north, they would be intercepted by the black vultures. If they went to the west, with the speed of the demon vulture army, it was impossible for the black vulture army to catch up. As for the black vulture corps that was ambushed, other than desperately chasing after the demon vulture corps that was ambushed, they could not counterattack at all. They could only report to Wu Lingzi of the Spirit Vulture Palace again and wait for orders. Because Ling Chuzi had no power, when Wu Lingzi received this information, his body immediately trembled. This sneak attack had killed nearly 1,000 black vultures and injured more than 1,000. This number of casualties was not a big deal, but it was very significant. Just a moment ago, Vulture said that Yang Dingtian was bluffing and that these crystal missiles were fake. Then, he shot more than 100 missiles and killed more than 1,000 black vultures. This was not a big deal. The most terrifying thing was the black poisonous bombs in the report. Although no black vulture died after the explosion, no matter if it was a human or a black vulture, after being infected by this poison, they would constantly fester and spread. At present, more than 100 black vultures had been infected with this terrible black poison and their bodies had begun to fester. Obviously, this was a warning, a warning from Yang Dingtian. He was telling Wolingzi that he did have a more powerful secret weapon that was suspected to be the deep-sea Shen poison, but he did not use it. Instead, he used the inferior poisonous bombs. If he had really used the deep-sea Shen poison, who knew how many black vultures would have died? Wolingzi stared coldly at Vulture and said, "Why? I clearly asked you to take the initiative to stop the war. Why did you provoke Yang Dingtian?" Vulture gritted his teeth and said, "Even if we stop the war, we can't compromise too much. Otherwise, Yang Dingtian will only take an inch and want a mile. So, I'm just fighting for the conditions that Vulture Palace deserves." "Then what should we do now?" Wolingzi said, "Your rude attitude has angered Yang Dingtian. He is a person who can be persuaded by reason but not cowed by force. You know best. Just because of your pampering, my Black Vulture Legion has suffered such heavy losses." Vulture gritted his teeth and did not say anything. "Okay, you continue to go to Zhongjing. This time, no matter what method you use, even if you have to sleep with Yang Dingtian, you must make him stop the war." Wolingzi said sternly, "You don't have any choice. You said it yourself, our key is to kill Yang Dingtian, not to start a war." "No, I won't go." Vulture said sternly, "I won't go and be humiliated by him again." "You have to go." Wolingzi said word by word, "You don't have a choice. You have to go." Vulture said, "No, I'd rather die than go. You can kill me. In any case, I won't go and look at Yang Dingtian's face again. I won't go and be humiliated by him again." Then, Vulture looked at Wolingzi with teary eyes and said, "Father, even if your daughter begs you, go to the Sea of Hades again. You can't stand aside and watch the show. You must persuade her. The two of you go to Zhongjing together and capture Yang Dingtian. Force Wu Maji to hand over her evil spirit power, so that she can't kill me at any time. I beg you, for your own sake and for your daughter, try one more time." After saying that, Vulture knelt down in front of Wolingzi. Wolingzi's face twitched. He gritted his teeth for a long time and said, "I really owe you a lot in my previous life. Just let this old face of mine be trampled by her again. But what if Wu Yu still doesn't agree?" Vulture said, "Then I'll go to Zhongjing. Even if I have to sleep with Yang Dingtian, I'll make him stop the war." Wolingzi stomped his foot and turned into a stream of light, flying toward the Sea of Hades again. The Council of Light's army didn't change at all. They still moved at the same speed toward Zhongjing and Nan-Barbarian continent. The Black Vulture Corps that didn't receive any orders could only desperately send out air patrols to guard against the Council of Light's sneak attack. Without orders, they couldn't fight back at all. It was really frustrating to the extreme. The encirclement of Nanzhong and Barbarian continent had been formed day by day. The entire Nanzhong felt suffocated. Wolingzi rushed to the Sea of Hades with his fastest speed. After entering the Sea of Hades, he met Wu Yu again. His intention was still to invite her to Zhongjing to deal with Yang Dingtian. Wu Yu didn't answer for a long time, but the disdain in her beautiful eyes became stronger and stronger. After a long while, she said, "Are you still the Wu Ling that I saw 200 years ago? A few days ago, you said you were going to kill Yang Dingtian alone. Why didn't you go? I've never seen a half-saint that's so afraid of death." Then she left directly, not giving Wolingzi a chance to say a second word. She also didn't agree to go to Zhongjing with Wolingzi. Instantly, Wolingzi was flustered and exasperated. He was embarrassed and angry. Being humiliated like this by the woman of his dreams was the most painful and unbearable thing in the world. He really couldn't understand why Wu Yu rejected him again and again. Instantly, he was even more convinced that Wu Yu didn't have good intentions towards him. Therefore, he rushed out of the Sea of Hades and returned to the Vulture Palace as fast as he could. At this time, Yang Dingtian's army of millions was less than 1,000 miles away from Nanzhong and Barbarian continent. In at most one more day, the army of millions would completely surround Nanzhong and Barbarian continent. At this time, there were only 20 to 30,000 Black Vulture Corps protecting Vulture Palace in Nanzhong. After arriving at Vulture Palace and seeing Vulture, Wolingzi's first words were, "Go, go, go accompany Yang Ding. Even if she defiles you 100 times, you have to stop the war." Chapter 720. Vulture came to Yang Dingtian's north castle again. After entering, she walked to the table in front of Yang Dingon expressionlessly and laid down. Come on. Yun Junu glanced at her and continued to report to Yang Dingtian. This time, Yang Dingtian didn't ignore Vulture. He closed the document in his hand and said, Is there a way to do this? Sleep with me in exchange for a truce. Vulture said, You take me in exchange for a truce? Yang Dingtian's gaze fell on the delicate snow-white body and fell into deep thought. Yun Junu was startled and thought, Is this bastard really going to do it? Yang Dingon said, Then I want to ask clearly, is it only once or always? What do you mean? Vulture asked. Yang Dingon looked at Vulture and said, Have you ever thought of remarrying me? Then Vulture Palace will completely join the Council of Light. Although I don't want to see the changes in your body, it's still not too late to turn back. Vulture looked at Yang Dingtian for a long time and shook her head. You want our Black Vulture army? Of course. Yang Dingtian said, In 3 to 5 years, the Great War of Destruction will begin. Your 200,000 Black Vultures can fill the gap in the air force of the Tiando League. Impossible, don't even think about it. Vulture said, You can only sleep with me once. It's impossible for me to remarry you and control the Black Vulture army. In this world, anyone can stand with you, but I can't. But don't you dare to face your only pure time? Yang Dingtian asked. Don't make yourself sound like a saint. Vulture said coldly, You want me to remarry you for the sake of the Black Vulture army. How good can it be? Yang Dingtian's expression turned cold as he said, Then forget it. You go and tell Wolingzi. If you want to stop the war, you have to send the entire Black Vulture Corps back to the Vulture Palace and marry me. You want to stop the war after doing it once? That's impossible. You're not made of diamonds. Yang Dingtian's words caused Vulture's body to twitch violently. Jun Nu, send the guest off. Yang Dingtian said. Yun Junu picked up the clothes from the ground and placed them in front of Vulture. Please. Yun Junu's figure was simply too devilish. When she bent down to pick up Vulture's clothes, her curves were so perfect that no one could look straight at her. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but say, Also, don't think of me as a pervert who can't stand seeing women. Jun Nu is much more attractive than you. I haven't touched you yet. Before he could finish his sentence, Yun Junu walked to his side and used her deerskin boots to step on his toes. It was so painful that Yang Dingtian trembled violently and couldn't say anything else. Yun Junu used her heels to step on Yang Dingtian's toes and said to Vulture, Miss Vulture, do you want to put on your clothes and go out or just go out like this? Vulture grabbed the clothes and put it on with extreme humiliation and resentment. He then walked out with a face full of resentment. Vulture, I'll give you 24 hours to consider. Either you marry me or go to war. Yang Dingtian said indifferently, Jun Nu, when did you send the letter to your master? 5 days ago. She should be on her way here. But are you really going to agree to her? Yun Junu asked. Isn't it just selling your body? What's so great about that? Yang Dingtian said indifferently. Vulture shuddered and then slammed the door shut and left the North Mansion. Your reaction is not bad. Yang Dingtian hurriedly took off his boots and rubbed his bruised toes. He looked at Yun Junu's back and said, But your ruthlessness is exactly the same as her. It's just that you are more cunning than her. She is the kind of person who wants to kill your entire family. You are so evil. Yun Junu didn't seem to understand what Yang Dingtian was saying. She opened a document and read it seriously. However, with the documents covering her face, her beautiful and charming lips pursed into a sweet and charming smile. After reading it, Yun Junu said casually, Sect leader, if you blackmail Wolingzi like this, what if he doesn't fall for it? Then there's no other way. We can only make the act real. We will really go to war and land in the South Barbarian continent. Yang Dinghan sighed, although it will be a tough battle, but if it really comes to that, there's no other way. Yun Junu pretended to be even more casual. If it really comes to that stage, will you really give yourself to my master? I don't know. Yang Dingtian said, Your master is ruthless. If I really sell myself to her and let her get pregnant, it might be the time of my death. She is ambitious and will not be controlled by anyone. Yang Dingtun wants you to marry him? Wu Lingzi hissed. He wants to encroach on my Black Vulture Legion. Dream on, dream on, dream on. Even if I poison all the black vultures to death, I will not give it to him. Wu Lingzi furiously grabbed a cup of water and drank it in large gulps. Furthermore, he doesn't have many years left to live. Once the doomsday battle arrives, he'll be dead for sure. He actually wants to drag the spiritual vulture palace down with him? Dream on, dream on. I also directly rejected him. Anyone can follow him, but I can't. I can follow anyone but not him. Vulture said, then what do we do now? Do we really go to war? He gave us 24 hours. Wolingzi said, what did he say to you? Repeat it word for word. Either we marry him or we go to war. He gave us 24 hours. Vulture said, and 5 days ago, Yun Junu wrote a letter to Queen Hai Xin. It was as if Yang Dingtian had agreed to some condition of Hai Xin. He mentioned selling himself. Wu Lingzi shuddered and said, that refers to impregnating Hai Xin. Currently, no one is able to make the snake men go into estrus, and no one is able to impregnate them. It seems like Yang Dingtian is an exception. Vulture sneered, he is really a stud horse. Wolingzi said, Yang Dingtian said marriage, but he didn't say who he was going to marry, right? Vulture nodded. Wolingzi sneered, all right then, let's fulfill his wish. Who is the ugliest in the Vulture Palace? Of course it is Spirit Rabbit. Vulture sneered, not only is she a mute, she is also the ugliest person in the Vulture Palace. Speaking of which, she is also my cousin. Ha! Wolingzi laughed, Yang Dingtun wants marriage, right? Let's pick the ugliest mute for him. You go and find Spirit Rabbit, then bring her to Zhongjing and marry Yang Dingen. Vulture's beautiful eyes flashed with a demonic light that in heaven, there was also hell. In New York, there was also a slum. In the Vulture Palace, in a cold and remote cave, there was an intense coughing sound. This kind of coughing was almost heart-wrenching. A withered old man with broken legs was lying on a pile of straw, coughing desperately. As he coughed, black blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Beside him, an ugly girl dressed in coarse cloth held back her tears and desperately stroked the old man's chest. Seeing him in so much pain, she wished she could take his place. After coughing for a few minutes, the old man finally stopped. The ugly girl held a bowl of honey water and placed it beside the old man's mouth. This old man was so thin that he was only skin and bones. His hair was sparse like weeds, Snow White. His entire person was like a candle flame in a strong wind that could be extinguished at any time. He took a sip gently and looked at the ugly girl with infinite love. He said hoarsely, I'm going to die soon, I should be dying soon. As soon as these words came out, the ugly girl shook her head desperately, tears falling down continuously. I'm not willing to die like this. The old man's withered eyes could no longer shed tears. They were like a dry well, revealing infinite pain. He said, if I die, what will you do, what will you do? My little rabbit, grand. The ugly girl cried loudly and shouted with difficulty. The old man cried bitterly, but there were no tears. He sobbed and said, after I die, what will my little rabbit do, what will I do? They will torture you to death, they are a group of beasts, a group of beasts. The ugly girl shook her head desperately and cried desperately. The old man cried and said, Wolingzi harmed my parents in order to fight for the position of the Vulture Palace, I admit it. Because I was too outstanding, he crippled me and broke my legs, I admit it. My son was too outstanding, he killed my son and daughter-in-law, I admit it. They can't harm you anymore, I'll beg him, ask him to let you go. The ugly girl hugged the old man desperately and cried desperately, Ugly ghost? Are you there? Outside, the voice of the vulture suddenly sounded. Immediately, the ugly girl trembled and a trace of fear appeared in her eyes. There was also a trace of hatred. Since she was young, the vulture had been her nightmare. Since she was young, she had already lost count of how she had bullied and abused her. The vulture was a high and mighty princess, and although she, the spirit rabbit, was a true descendant of the vulture palace. She was even inferior to the lowest servant. Insulting, beating, whipping, cutting off her head, tying her body with a rope, throwing her into the black vulture's cave, and quickly lifting her up the moment before the black vulture ate her. These were all things that the vulture had done to her when she was young. It could be said that it was fortunate that she was ugly, otherwise, her bones would have already rotted away. To the vulture palace was heaven. To her, the vulture palace was hell, the hell of hell, an eternal nightmare. If not for the fact that she and her grandfather depended on each other, she would have died long ago. The spirit rabbit took a deep breath, messed up her hair, and walked out of the cave. Slap. The vulture directly slapped her. Immediately, the spirit rabbit felt dizzy and spat out blood from the corner of her mouth. She flew a few feet away and fell to the ground. Are you deaf? Are you deaf? The vulture fiercely pulled her ear with her sharp nails and said coldly, "Why didn't you hear me when I called you? Why did you only come out now?" The spirit rabbit did not say a word because she was mute. The vulture tortured the spirit rabbit when she was young. For this, Ling Bai could not bear it and scolded her several times. Therefore, her relationship with her mother was not good at all. She looked down on Ling Bai. However, when she grew up a little, she did not torture the spirit rabbit anymore because she almost disdained to do so. When she grew older, she had a little sympathy for the spirit rabbit. Of course, it was only a little. Especially when she was with Yang Dingtian, her heart would still surge with guilt towards the spirit rabbit. At this time, she and the spirit rabbit had not seen each other for almost a few years. This was the first time they had met. The reason why she hit the spirit rabbit was because she had transferred her anger towards Yang Dingtian to her. The vulture stepped forward, grabbed the spirit rabbit's neck and raised her face. Then, she smiled and said, 7 or 8 years have passed and you have become uglier. Just right, just right. It's just right for you to marry Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian is only worthy of an ugly ghost like you. Then, the vulture directly grabbed her hair and dragged her out. He wanted to drag her directly to Zhongjing to marry Yang Dingtian. At this time, the spirit rabbit struggled desperately and wanted to run back into the cave. You still dare to resist? Are you rebelling? The vulture said coldly. Then, she kicked her to the ground and dragged her out by her hair. The spirit rabbit quickly took out a dagger from her waist and cut off her hair. Then, she quickly ran back into the cave. The vulture quickly chased after her. In the cave, the spirit rabbit hugged the old man tightly and shook her head in pain. The vulture covered her nose and stepped forward to grab the spirit rabbit's hair. She said coldly, "Today, you have to marry even if you don't want to." "What? Marry? Marry who?" the old man said with a trembling voice. "A lowly Yang Dingtian." The vulture said coldly, "He is not from the vulture palace?" The old man's eyes lit up. "No, he is not." The vulture said in disgust. The old man said in surprise, "Okay, we will marry, we will marry." For him, as long as the spirit rabbit could leave the hell of the vulture palace, nothing else mattered. It didn't even matter who she married. Even if she married a vicious person, it was better than staying in the vulture palace. Then the old man said to the vulture, "Little princess, you go out first. I will persuade the spirit rabbit and let her marry. If she doesn't agree, I will kill you." The vulture said and left. After the vulture went out, the old man said to the spirit rabbit, "Child, you have to marry. You have to leave this hell immediately. Otherwise, you will die and it will be the most tragic death. Even if your face is ugly, it's useless. Your body is gradually maturing. Some bastards will definitely not let you off. You have to marry them." The spirit rabbit shook her head desperately and cried desperately. She hugged the old man tightly. The old man pulled out a dagger and placed it on his dry neck, saying, "If you don't marry, then I will die. Anyway, I have lived until now for you." Suddenly, the spirit rabbit did not dare to move. Her tears kept falling. 2 hours later, several women bathed the spirit rabbit and changed her into a red wedding dress. In a burst of ridicule, the spirit rabbit put on silk for the first time. Then she rode on a black vulture and flew with the vulture to Zhongjing. A few hours later, The vulture and the spirit rabbit in the wedding dress landed in the North Mansion. The vulture palace agreed to Yang Dingtian's conditions. The Black Vulture army would withdraw from the South Central continent and marry Yang Dingtian in exchange for a ceasefire. However, they chose the ugliest woman in the vulture palace, the spirit rabbit. After landing in the North Mansion, the first sentence of the vulture was, "Yang Ding, we have married you according to your words. I have sent your new wife." Chapter 721. Yang Dingtian raised his head from behind the table and looked at Vulture in front of him. There was also a woman with a graceful figure. She was wearing a wedding dress and a headscarf. "Yang Dingen, you said that as long as the Black Vulture Legion retreated to the Vulture Palace and the Vulture Palace married you, you would stop the war. Does this still count?" Vulture asked. Yang Dingen replied, "I always keep my word." Vulture said, "But you didn't specify who the woman from the Vulture Palace would be who would marry you, right? And you didn't state that the person who would marry you would be me, right?" Yang Dingnan was silent for a moment, then nodded and said, "But if the Vulture Palace dares to tease me in this regard and randomly find a woman to marry me, I will let you see my anger." Vulture laughed and said, "Of course we won't randomly find a woman. The one we chose to marry you is the true descendant of the Vulture Palace, my dear cousin, Spirit Rabbit. From today onwards, she will be your new wife. Are you looking forward to seeing her appearance?" Then, Vulture's beautiful eyes emitted a demonic light as she stared at Yang Dingtian's face. Her hand grabbed Spirit Rabbit's headscarf, ready to tear it off at any time. She wouldn't miss this scene. She was looking forward to it. The pain of others was her joy. She was looking forward to seeing Yang Dingtian's painful expression when he saw the ugly Spirit Rabbit. She was looking forward to seeing it. "Are your eyes wide open? Now I'll show you." The Spirit Vulture suddenly tugged. The headscarf fell, revealing Spirit Rabbit's ugly face. Yang Dingtian's eyes suddenly shrank and he burst out with anger. But then he saw the fear and uneasiness in the woman's eyes. She was like a little beast that had just escaped from hell. She didn't even dare to look at Yang Dingtian. Her hands were clenched into fists so tightly that even her veins were popping out. Then, Yang Dingtian's eyes widened again, from anger to gentleness. He knew this girl. Ling Bai had spent too much time in the Taboo Continent's illusory realm. She had told him all the interesting things that she had encountered. Most of it was about this girl called Spirit Rabbit. There was one thing that she had said at least 10 times. That was, when Ling Bai's Black Vulture was young, it also ate human flesh like other people. Of course, Ling Bai was unwilling, so she forbade it from eating human flesh. He gave it food, raw materials, fruits, and beef and mutton. At that time, Black Vulture was still very young. Of course, he was unwilling. After being hungry for a few days, he secretly ran away from home. At that time it was still young. After running out, it couldn't find anything to eat. Thus, he went into a cave and slept. As they slept, they became dehydrated and starved to death. At that time, the Spirit Rabbit, which was also very small, was looking for food all over the mountains to feed itself and its grandfather. Of course, he found this dying Black Vulture. Then she used the porridge that she cooked herself to revive it. As for the Black Vulture's problem of being picky about food, it had also completely corrected itself. Eating the Spirit Rabbit's porridge every day, it was so happy that it forgot about home. However, the food that the Spirit Rabbit found every day was enough to feed itself and its grandfather. How could it afford to feed the little Black Vulture? Thus, it was hungry every 2 to 3 days. But even so, she did not stop giving the Black Vulture porridge. If Ling Bai had not found the Black Vulture, this silly thing would have been eating for free with the Spirit Rabbit. It would probably starve the little Spirit Rabbit to death. From then on, Ling Bai came into contact with the pitiful Spirit Rabbit. Although she did not have a good time, she did not have any problems surviving. Thus, she tried her best to help the Spirit Rabbit and her grandfather. However, this kind of help did not bring any luck to the Spirit Rabbit. Instead, it brought misfortune. At that time, although Vulture did not like her mother, when she saw that Ling Bai treated the Spirit Rabbit better than her, she came to torture the Spirit Rabbit every 2 to 3 days. Ling Bai wanted to stop her, but her status in the vulture palace was far inferior to the vulture who was still a little girl, even though she was her daughter. Therefore, she did not dare to help the spirit rabbit openly. She could only secretly bring food to her. From then on, Ling Bai disliked vulture very much. Although she was her own flesh and blood, she was more willing to see the spirit rabbit as her daughter. Therefore, although Ling Bai was very stupid, she still protected a pitiful life. Ling Bai even said that under her influence, Lingxi once said that the people in the vulture palace should not bully the pitiful spirit rabbit anymore. Yang Dingqian walked over and held the spirit rabbit's slightly rough hand, saying gently, "From now on, no one can bully you anymore." Then, he held her hand and walked towards the back of the castle. Not seeing the scene that she was looking forward to and not seeing Yang Dingqian's pained expression, Vulture was furious and immediately said without thinking, "Yang Dingen, are you satisfied with the new wife that we have made for you? She is so ugly, she is a match made in heaven with you. Junu, stay behind and talk to her about the ceasefire." Yang Dingtian said, after talking, ask her to get lost immediately. Then wash the place where she stood with boiling water. Also, she sat on my table yesterday. Dig out all the places where she sat. Yes. Yun Jun said. Suddenly, a golden light flashed in front of Vulture's eyes and she almost fainted. This was the first time that Yang Dingtian used such a vicious tone. In the magnificent room, Yang Dingtian sat in front of the spirit rabbit. "I know you." Yang Dingtian smiled and said, "You can talk, but you pretend to be mute." Once these words were said, the spirit rabbit trembled and revealed a frightened look. "Also, you are very beautiful. When you were very young, your beauty shocked the entire vulture palace. But when you were 6 years old, you knew how to protect yourself. You let your grandfather turn you ugly." Yang Dingtian said. Suddenly, the spirit rabbit revealed a look of disbelief. How could it be? No one knew about this secret. How could she know? At that time, on the surface, you became ugly because you ate a strange poisonous mushroom. Yang Dingun said, and this mushroom was deliberately picked by you. And to make yourself ugly, you ate this mushroom every day. But I don't have this ugly mushroom here. At this time, the spirit rabbit's whole body was curled up. Her eyes were full of fear and vigilance when she looked at Yang Dingun. You even secretly practiced martial arts. Although you were very talented, you lacked elixirs and a place to practice. You lacked everything, so your cultivation was not as good as Vulture's. Yang Dingtian said, not only that, you also searched all the mountains in the Vulture Palace, trying to cure your grandfather. The spirit rabbit breathed heavily. Suddenly, she raised her head and stared at Yang Dingtian with her eyes wide open. She said, "Who are you? You will harm me? Will you harm my grandfather?" Yang Dingtian did not answer. He just gently stroked her neck with his hand. The spirit rabbit in front of him was still too young. But if she could really restore her grandfather's strength, then perhaps she would be a good chess piece to usurp the Vulture Palace. Although the spirit rabbit's grandfather was a generation younger than Wolingzi, he was the true heir of the Vulture Palace, just like his father. At this time, there was a sudden knock on the door. Suddenly, the spirit rabbit's body trembled violently, and all the hair on her body stood up. It was as if she was really a little rabbit in the wild. Even the slightest movement could make her incomparably alert. "Come in, the door is not closed," Yang Dingtian said. Opening the door, the beautiful Ling Bai came in. The moment she saw the spirit rabbit, she was stunned. The spirit rabbit's eyes suddenly opened wide, revealing an unbelievable surprise. Ling Bai rushed in and directly hugged the spirit rabbit's little body. She cried with joy, "Little rabbit, you're not dead. That's great, that's great." Hearing this, Yang Dingtian's heart softened slightly, and then he left. After the negotiation with Yun Junu, Vulture left with humiliation. Yang Dingtian immediately ordered the negotiation team led by Dongfang Minmi to send an ultimatum to the forces of Zhongzhou State. They could start the fourth negotiation immediately, which was also the last negotiation. Or they could completely close the door of the negotiation. Moreover, they only gave the leaders of Zhongzhou State 24 hours to think. Suddenly, The ultimatum completely frightened the leaders of Zhongzhou state. They immediately gathered together and held a closed-door meeting. Soon they reached a consensus. That was, they resolutely disagreed with the 3 conditions of the Council of Light. But they did not dare to refuse the negotiation. No one was willing to say no to the Council of Light. The meeting lasted for 4 to 6 hours, but there was no result, and it was impossible for there to be a result. They neither agreed nor dared to turn hostile. Therefore, these leaders of Zhongzhou state immediately ran to the South Mansion and asked the Vulture Palace and the Netherworld Sea for help. Here, they got the most exciting answer they could think of. The ancestor of the Vulture Palace must have agreed to fight Yang Dingtian to the end and completely destroy all the military forces of the Council of Light in Zhongzhou state. Not only that, the representative of the Vulture Palace also said that the Netherworld Sea also decided to help. They would never sit by and watch Yang Dingtian be arrogant. The ancestor of Wulingzi went to the Netherworld Sea twice in person and finally persuaded Sect Master Wulingzi to fight Yang Dingtian. Moreover, the representative of the Vulture Palace told the leaders of Zhongzhou state. They had already investigated and found out that Yang Dingtian was simply bluffing. Those missiles were all fake and they were all empty. Therefore, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to destroy the Council of Light. Moreover, the masters of the Vulture Palace also asked all the forces of Zhongzhou state to send out troops to attack Yang Dingtian from behind. After conquering the whole of Zhongzhou state, the Vulture Palace would only take the South Zhongzhou state and leave nothing behind. Suddenly, the leaders of the forces of Zhongzhou state felt their blood boil. However, they did not dare to send out troops to attack Yang Dingtian's army from behind. They would not dare to do so even if they were given 10 guts. Therefore, they tried every possible way to refuse. Therefore, the representative of the Vulture Palace said that they should sign a secret agreement. The leaders of Zhongzhou state did not need to send out troops. When the Vulture Palace and the Netherworld Sea completely destroyed the face-to-face parliament, they would send out troops symbolically and take away all the territories of the Council of Light. However, these leaders of Zhongzhou state had always been sending themselves to their deaths. You can eat the meat, and I'll do it. They didn't even dare to sign such a symbolic agreement. They thought, even though it's impossible, what if the spiritual Vulture Palace screws me over? Therefore, the representative of the Vulture Palace was angry. Well said, you guys only want to eat meat and don't want to be beaten. You want me and Yang Dingtian to fight to the death while you snatch the territories from behind? How can there be such an easy thing? Therefore, they threatened not to negotiate with Yang Dingtian. The leaders of Zhongzhou state were frightened again. In the end, the leaders of Zhongzhou state said that if they wanted to sign this secret agreement, they could ally with the Vulture Palace and attack Yang Dingtian together. However, they had to see the Vulture Palace send out troops and confirm the real war before they could sign it. Obviously, these leaders of Zhongzhou state were smart. They would not act without seeing the hair. Although the representative of the Vulture Palace was very unhappy, he still agreed after hesitating for a while. Then, on behalf of the Vulture Palace, he invited these leaders of Zhongzhou state to South Zhongzhou state to participate in the swearing-in ceremony of the 200,000 Black Vulture Corps. The moment the 200,000 Black Vulture Corps took off and rushed to Zhongzhou state, the moment the real war started, they would sign the secret agreement. The leaders of Zhongzhou state, who had no choice, agreed. Then, under the leadership of the representative of the Vulture Palace, hundreds of leaders of Zhongzhou state came to the camp of the Vulture Palace in South Zhongzhou state. A few hours later, the blood-boiling swearing-in ceremony began. 200,000 soldiers, a total of 200,000 Black Vulture Corps. They took off in rows and finally covered the sky for hundreds of miles above their heads. Even the sun could not shine down on the whole city. It was really covering the sky and the sun. Heroic military music and impassioned proclamations. There were also the sounds of countless Black Vulture knights fighting to the death. In the end, 200,000 Black Vultures covered the sky and the earth and headed for Zhongzhou state. The leaders of Zhongzhou state were also excited by this monstrous scene. Let's kill Yang Dingtian. Yes, instead of waiting for death, it's better to fight with all our might. Yes, let's fight Yang Dingtian to the end. Let's go back and gather the army. If we add up our army, there will be at least 10 million of them. We will be able to crush Yang Dingtian to death. Yes, Zhongzhou State belongs to the people of Zhongzhou State. Yang Dingtian, get out of here. Council of Light, get out of here. Fight, fight, fight. Fight to the end. Then, in this impassioned atmosphere, the leaders of Zhongzhou State signed the secret agreement with the representative of the Vulture Palace, Ling Chuzi. All the leaders used their profound energy to sign their names. Finally, when it was Ling Chuzi's turn to sign, he directly stamped a seal. It was the seal of Wu Yuming from the South Mansion. Of course, the leaders of Zhongzhou State did not care about this. Then, with the secret agreement in his arms, Ling Chuzi directly flew to the Black Vulture and flew toward Zhongjing. The leaders of Zhongzhou State were stunned, then said, Palace Master Ling Chuzi is going to the battlefield to fight Yang Dingtian to the death. I heard that Ancestor Wulingzi is also going to Zhongjing to kill Yang Dingtian. Yes, Yang Dingtian is doomed this time, ha. Then let's go back to our territory and summon the army. Gather 10 million, 20 million, and kill Yang Dingtian's army. Yes, let's go. Then, all the leaders of Zhongzhou State got up with their blood boiling. They were about to get on the winged cavalry and return to their territory. Suddenly, at this moment, several senior leaders of the Vulture Palace in the sky blew some strange horn. Then, the 200,000 Black Vulture troops neatly turned around in the air. After hovering in the air for a while, they covered the sky and flew toward the south. But why are they flying toward the south? Zhongjing is in the north. They should be going to annihilate the Council of Light Fleet on the southern seas. Yes, kill the nearest enemy first, then kill the Council of Light bastards in Zhongjing. Then, everyone looked up at the sky and saw that the dark clouds were getting farther and farther away. After a long time, someone said, they seem to be flying a bit far. They should be at the seaside. Why aren't they swooping down to attack? No one answered. The 200,000 Black Vulture troops kept flying toward the Vulture Palace in the southern barbarian continent, farther and farther away. Finally, they completely disappeared into the dark clouds in the sky. Everyone suddenly felt that the air was very cold. Finally, someone said, they can't have all retreated to the Vulture Palace, right? I don't think so. A leader said, I saw the secret agreement clearly just now. They are irreconcilable with Yang Dingtian and will fight to the end. Finally, someone remembered and said, but I seem to remember that the seal at the end of the secret agreement was Wu Yoming's seal, not the Vulture Palace's. After almost a month of serialization in the newspaper, the whole world now knew that Wu Yuming was one of the adopted sons of Wan Wenyan of the Temple of Annihilation and one of the great devils of the evil ways. Moreover, no one doubted this conclusion. This was because every word in the newspaper was backed by absolute evidence. It was absolutely true and authoritative. Wu Yuming was one of the young masters of the evil ways. This was a fact that could not be changed. They signed a secret agreement with Wu Yuming. This was a public rebellion and evil ways. Then they thought of a very, very, very scary thing. Have we been sold by the Vulture Palace? Finally, someone said this nightmarish fact. No one answered him. No one was willing to face this terrible truth. Then, the entire ground suddenly began to tremble. A deafening sound came from afar. It was the fleet of the Council of Light. Thousands of ships began to bombard the coastal defense line of South Zhongzhou. Thousands of warships and tens of thousands of cannons fired wildly. Almost in an instant, the defense line on the shore was instantly reduced to dust. The soldiers on it were instantly smashed into pieces. Countless cannonballs rained down like a storm of steel. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Then, countless flying mounts rose from the ships on the sea and whistled toward South Zhongzhou. Countless soldiers, team by team, landed on the beach. Suddenly, many of the leaders of Zhongzhou spat out a mouthful of blood. Wulingzi, fuck you. 2 hours later, Yang Dingtian called for a meeting of the Tiando League. He took out the secret agreement signed by the leaders of Zhongzhou and Wu Yuming and publicly announced that some of the vassals of Zhongzhou had colluded with young master Wu Yuming of evil ways and tried to overthrow the Taekwondo League in Zhongzhou. Their crimes were unforgivable. Yang Dingtian, as the master of the Taekwondo League and the master of the Council of Light, officially gave the order. Gather all the military forces of the East Continent, North Zhongzhou, West Continent, and Yingzhou to completely eliminate the rebellion. Then, millions of troops that had long been prepared. Like a tide, they surged into South Zhongzhou and Great Zhongzhou. The millions of troops that were originally stationed in Great Zhongzhou attacked crazily, sweeping down from the north to the south. Hundreds of thousands of air troops suddenly rose into the sky and flew toward all the rebel territories in Zhongzhou. Moreover, there was a small announcement. The daughter of the Vulture Palace, the Golden Spirit Rabbit, was officially married to Yang Dingtian, the master of the Council of Light. Suddenly, all the leaders of Zhongzhou vomited blood. Fuck you, Walingzi. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.